And good morning, everybody joining me live. Raj Lakshmi, Jyoti, and Nisha. Okay. Yesterday we had talked till the beginning of policies taken by the government to promote industrialization. We start with the first one today. This is about steps to promote industrialization by government. And the first one you write is production linked incentive scheme. We will keep calling it PLI. I'll give you a write-up on this. You wait for some time. But before I give you a write-up, understand the scheme. The scheme is like this, that government will set a target of sales of made in India product, that the companies, like say, okay, I'll give you an example, you take it as this. So government will select an industry. Suppose government selects an industry like electronics. And within that industry, the government will select firms on the basis of their production capacity. Suppose the government selects Samsung. All right, I'm just giving an example, but let's say it's like that. And then the government will set a sales target. Of course, the product should be manufactured in India. All right, the government will set a sales target. The product should be manufactured in India. This sales target, say, the government sets it at 15,600 crore rupees. So government tells Samsung that we want you to manufacture in India, and if you can manufacture in India and then sell commodity worth 15,600 crore. Sell is the word. They can sell it in India. They can export it. There is no restriction on that. But if they can sell commodity worth 15,600 crore manufactured in India within 5 years, all right, within 5 years, then the government promises them that the government will give them 4% to 6% of sales target as subsidy. You know, that is what the government promises them. That in a sense, if 15,600 crore and suppose 4% has to be given, then 624 crore rupees will be given by the government to Samsung if Samsung manufactures in India and manages to sell this much amount of good within 5 years manufactured in India. You understand that? That is the production linked incentive scheme, that you manufacture in India, you sell from India, and we will give you 5 years, we will give you a sales target. If you achieve the sales target, we will give you 4% to 6% value. That will be predetermined. It is not that it will be determined in the end. So it will be 4%, 5%, 6%, anything. But it can be 4% to 6%, whatever has been determined of the target. And you can receive it within the next 1 year from the government. So the idea is to encourage the firms to invest in India, especially firms which are diversifying out of China. All right, that if the firm is diversifying away from China, or if there is a new firm which wants to set business around, then they can manufacture from India. All right, that is the idea, that manufacture from India. So again, I repeat, the government will select the group of industries, say electronics, white goods, electrical appliances, drone manufacturing, lithium-ion batteries manufacturing, Any of these industries can be pharmaceutical, commodities, any of the industry can be selected. From the industry, a given set of firms can be selected, and the firm will be given a target. If the firm, and what target? Sales target, not production target. Sales target. You produce and sell this much out of India. So the firm will be given a sales target, and whatever sales target the firm gets, say for 5 years, if the firm achieves that sales target within 5 years, then the government will commit a particular percentage, anything between 4% to 6%, which will be predetermined. अब ये 4% है या 6% है या 5% है, पहले से पता होगा. One firm will be told about that, and the firm achieving the target will be getting it from the government. All right, that is the production linked incentive scheme. Major objective is to attract the firms to produce from India, choose India as a manufacturing space, get to know Indian markets, get some economies of scale in India, and this scheme is for 5 years. So after 5 years, it is expected that the firms will be well established, they will not need any support, and they will use the internal dynamics of India to keep growing faster and faster. All right, that is the basic idea of PLI. I can believe you understand this. I'm giving you a write-up. Along with that, I will keep explaining to you. I'm again doing a critical analysis. We will talk about what is PLI, advantages of PLI, challenges of PLI. All right, because again, this is a possibility. They can ask you this question as it is a new scheme and getting gradually famous. Remember one more thing. Apart from PLI, government has introduced a similar scheme. It's not PLI, but a similar scheme in semiconductor manufacturing, promising 76,000 crore rupees budget for that. So it's not a part of PLI, but a similar kind of scheme in semiconductor manufacturing. Okay, you write it down and I'll explain this to you. You write, PLI scheme was introduced with Atmanirbhar Bharat announcements. Atmanirbhar Bharat announcements in 2020-21, the financial year, that is 2020-21, with the objective to attract higher amount of investment to India. Full stop. In the same thing you write, under the scheme, government selects set of industries and chooses firms in each of these industries on the basis of their efficiency and production capacity. efficiency, and production capacity. The firms are given a sales target. The firms are given a sales target on goods manufactured in India and if they achieve the target, within 5 years, then government subsidizes them by giving 4% to 6% value of targeted amount. Full stop. I hope the scheme is clear to us. Then in the same thing you write, initially means in 2021, government announced the scheme. Initially, government announced the scheme for 3 industries. These 3 industries were electronics, pharmaceutical and automobile. All right, इन 3 पे पहले announce किया गया था, electronics, pharmaceutical and automobile. So for 3 industries, and in the same accounting year, it extended the scheme. In the same accounting year, it extended the scheme to 10 more industries. Full stop. In the budget of 2021-22, government announced rupees 1.97 lakh crore, rupees 1.97 lakh crore as the budgeted amount to be given under PLI for next 5 years over 13 industries. In 2022-23, again this was done in the budget. In 2022-23, government added drone industry, drone, D-R-O-N-E, drone industry as the 14th industry under PLI, 14th industry under PLI with budget of rupees 361 crore. Budget of rupees 361 crore. So remember, in case they ask you a question, how many industries are there in PLI? 14. The approximate budget for PLI is 2 lakh crore. Now think, we are saying that we will pay something between 4% to 6% of the production amount or the sales amount, which means we are expecting that there should be something between 30 lakh crore to 40 lakh crore worth of production which should be done in India through PLI scheme in the next 5 years. I hope you get that if 2 lakh crore is the budget, then take it as approximately 15 to 20 times more is what we expect to be produced. Because if we are saying we'll give a 5% average, say, or 6% average payment, then that will mean that we are expecting 16, 17, 20 times more production. So 40 lakh crore is the targeted production. Now remember one thing, it's a trick point here. Production doesn't mean everything will be produced in India necessarily. So it is possible that the value addition in India might be 10% of the amount, 15% of the amount, and not entire 100%. But even that will be a number. Remember, if we are producing 40 lakh crore for PLI alone, and even if 15% is added in India, that's 6 lakh crore extra added in India. एक example देता हूँ क्योंकि ये बहुत ज़्यादा न्यूज़ पेपर्स में आता रहता है. एक example दे रहा हूँ उसी पे आपको. आप सोच के देखिए, एक खबर आती रहती है दैट एप्पल फोन तो मैन्युफैक्चर कर रहे हैं इंडिया में, बट इट इज असेंबलिंग इट इन इंडिया, सो द एडवांटेज टू इंडिया. नाउ थिंक, एप्पल मैन्युफैक्चर्स फोन्स which are priced at 1,40,000, 1,50,000 rupees in India. So the value created is 1,50,000 rupees. If we believe that even 10% out of this is value added in India, which it is, all right, around 10 to 12% of that is value added in India. That means around 10 to 15,000 rupees, 18,000 rupees per phone is added in India. And now imagine when Apple produces 2 crore such phones, 1 crore such phones. Then they are adding 18,000 crore to 35,000 crore rupees value in India. I am honestly telling you, I don't understand what the criticism is about. What do we want them to do? In a globalized world where supply chains are diversified, and I'll teach you today what is implied by that, but where supply chains are diversified, if I am getting 10% of the supply chain to begin with, mind you, आप सोच के देखिए क्या हुआ है. Apple को इंडिया में आए 2 साल हुए under the PLI, and within 2 years now they have started now manufacturing a lot of components also in India. Their major component suppliers like Windstorm. Recently you would have read in news Tata's have got a supply contract with them that they will supply components to Apple. So they have started manufacturing components in India. So it is only when you open the gate, let people come in, they see the country, they realize that okay, this country is not like what I had heard earlier, it allows me more support, and then they tell their manufacturers, the component manufacturers, why don't you come and sell in this country only, I am also here, let's produce it here. When Apple had come to India just 2 years back, 2.5 years back, when they had come to India, initially the value addition they were doing was 8 to 9%. And within 2 years, we have seen it going to around 13, 14%. So that is once they absorb what is there in India, the atmosphere, the production units, the type of workforce, and then they start producing more. So if somebody tells us that, oh, the value addition is less, of course, we should be careful that the value addition should not be lesser than the PLI we are giving them. All right, that should not happen. कि ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि value addition 2% है और 6% हमसे ले रहे हैं. That is not advisable at all. But if somebody is adding value worth 10-15% to begin with, that's good business to begin with. Understand that. Because again, I repeat, people don't jump onto things straight away. People take time. They identify you. So we should keep confidence in ourselves that, okay, we are a dynamic country. We are a country with a lot of scope, a lot of demand possibilities, export possibilities. So let them come and set shop in India. They will see the benefits in India and they will expand. Samsung is another such example. When Samsung started the PLI, ये जो मैंने आपको बताया है यहाँ पे example, ये सत्य घटनाओं पे आधारित है. This is what Samsung is doing at the moment. Samsung started producing in India way back. They joined it in PLI. Initially, they were very circumspect and they said that we will take a target of 9,000 crore. Within a year, they said we will take a target of 15,600 crore. We can achieve that. And 25% of manufacturing by Samsung is in India. थोड़ा संभल के रहना. मैं आज भी सुबह न्यूज़पेपर के देख रहा था आर्टिकल्स कुछ, तो मुझे अम्यूजिंग लगता है अब. और वैसे भी मेरी तबीयत आज थोड़ी ठीक नहीं थी, गला बहुत ख़राब है, तो उससे एंटरटेनमेंट हो जाती है. मैं आपको बताता हूँ क्या देख रहा था. Q2 growth in India, you must have seen the data today, 7.6% was unimaginable for any of us. Even the optimistic ones were predicting something like 6.5, 6.8, 6.9. We get a 7.6% growth year on year in Q2. Now there is no base effect. Last year we grew 6.2%. It was not on a low base that we have grown 7.6. Year before that we had grown 9.1. So remember, that was on a low base. Year before last was 9.1, not because we were doing great, but because that year before that was a COVID pandemic year. So because of the low base, the growth looked high. But that low base effect got cancelled in 21-22 only with the 9% growth. We came back to where we were. Now 22-23 we record a good 6% growth. 23-24 we are recording a good 7.6% growth. People are still showing the worry points. My problem point is that, all of us know there can be headwinds, but imagine if, what has the government said in the budget? They said we are expecting a nominal GDP growth of 10.5% for the whole year. If we assume 5% as inflation, then they are expecting 5.5% real GDP growth for the whole year. Now we have achieved something like 6.8% in the first half itself. But I read Indian Express, I read The Hindu. Everywhere they were counting more about how agricultural growth has slowed down to 1.2%. They were counting about how now manufacturing grows at 13%, nobody counts that. Then they say it's the low base effect. But when agriculture grows at 1.2%, they don't say it's the high base effect. Similarly, they are counting that how future is going to be bleak, export looks difficult, and interest rates are going to be high. But at the time when the numbers are good, why are we talking about what might happen rather than giving a larger span to why it has happened, what has happened? Understand that. डिस्कशन क्या होना चाहिए कि एक ग्रोथ जो किसी भी इकोनॉमिस्ट ने एक्सपेक्ट नहीं किया था, IMF ने एक्सपेक्ट नहीं किया, वो हमारे RBI ने एक्सपेक्ट नहीं किया, अगर हम वो ग्रोथ रिकॉर्ड कर रहे हैं तो क्या कारण है कि वो ग्रोथ हुआ? बातचीत ये होनी चाहिए. बातचीत क्या हो रही है? कंजम्पशन डेटा कम हो रहा है, एग्रीकल्चर ठंडा पड़ रहा है, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग तो लो बेस पे ग्रो कर गया है. मतलब हम दुखी आत्मा है फिर तो. हमें कुछ अच्छी चीज मिल रही है देखने को, we can see something good happening in front of ourselves, we are upset at that. So that is reporting, mind you. I keep saying this because I want you to register it as this, that in the world where two wars are going on and major wars, in a world where interest rates are already high, saying that interest rate will be having a dampening effect. Take my words, if you can have accessibility, look at their analysis of Q1 GDP data when we had grown at 6.8%, and the same thing was written that interest rate will have a dampening effect and here onwards growth will be slow. But we didn't have a here onwards growth slow. Exports declined in July, August and September. There was negative growth in exports, July, August and September, but October and November have shown positive export growth. October and November are festive seasons. So So I can understand that interest rate will be high and it is possible commodity prices can go up. What do they say? Going forward, it is expected government will reduce expenditure because of the election cycle. Well, the election cycle will kick in February, March, almost by the end of the financial year. The government knows it's election year this year. And the more they spend, more benefit they will get for the people. Therefore, they are expected to spend more rather than saying that they will spend less as elections draw nearer. In my 20 years of doing practical economics, because I've been doing my research and practicing economics for 22 years now, I have never seen such an analysis which I see in our newspapers. And I understand that they are end of the day only masters, etc. So their language will be that much limited. कि एक मास्टर्स की डिग्री है, ज़्यादा रिसर्च नहीं की है, जाने नहीं, लेकिन कम से कम आइडियोलॉजिकल बैकग्राउंड ना रखें, ये सोच के चलें कि सामने जो दिख रहा है वो तो करें, जो हम नॉर्मल देखते हैं, इलेक्शन ईयर में सरकार ज़्यादा खर्च करते हैं, कम नहीं। और हमारे सरकार को तो और बुलवर्क मिल गया है कि टैक्स कलेक्शन ज़्यादा हो रहा है, they are getting higher than what they had expected. If India grows even 6% this year, forget 6.5, and if inflation is around 5.5%, our nominal GDP growth will be 1% more than what the government had planned. And taxes are already growing at around 25% more than what the government had planned. So rather than expecting that they will reduce their expenditure in future, they will increase their expenditure in future. That is what we are expecting them to do. That, and it's normal. Again, I repeat, if I am closer to election, अभी जो एग्जिट पोल बता रहे हैं उसके हिसाब से अगर 2-3 स्टेट रूलिंग पार्टी हार गए जो सेंटर में है, तो वो और खर्चे बढ़ाएंगे, अभी और पॉपुलिज्म की बात होगी। ये समझना जरूरी है कि बाई चांस अगर आप इलेक्शन हार दो, आपको लगता है अच्छा नहीं, लोग शायद नाराज हैं, और ठूसो सिस्टम में चीज, इलेक्शन जीत लें, फिर देखते हैं क्या करना है। So the point I'm trying to drive home to you again is, similarly with PLI, the early days have been good. Already electronic exports from India is rising. Already we see manufacturing growing comparatively more decently. So skepticism about a PLI is less understandable. Yes, we should identify what are the possible challenges and how we can overcome that. One thing I can tell you before I make you write the analysis now, that PLI alone cannot give us manufacturing growth. PLI can be the catalyst. जैसे दाल में आप तड़का लगाते हैं, PLI वो हो सकता है. PLI cannot be the game changer. That people will see PLI and so India, I love you, I'm coming for PLI. They won't do that. We will have to promise people good infrastructure. We will have to promise people good labor laws. We will have to promise people ease of doing business. We will have to promise good intellectual property rights. So if we can do all that and then give PLI also along with it, we will be attracting people to come and invest in India. But PLI alone, I repeat, cannot be a game changer. We'll need to do much more than that. All right, that is what you need to keep in mind. Because that is a valid point about PLI. Because sometimes when I see some people in government talking, they believe PLI is that panacea, रामबाण, कि बस ये कर लो और सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा. नहीं, ऐसा सिर्फ PLI नहीं कर पाएगा. Yes, yes. I think he is horribly wrong there. I'm honestly telling you. Dr. Rajan maybe has ambitions to be the finance minister, and I hope he becomes one, because he's a very, very wonderful economist. But right now his politics is playing better on his economics. I'll tell you why I say that. Once you are in a country, and you start producing, given it is India, and you see the huge market, and you see that market is growing market, you also see that the government is not only doing PLI. Now I'm building upon what I'm going to teach you today. So government is not only doing PLI, government is also spending capital expenditure of 10 lakh crore, massively spending on roads, communication, etc. You also see that government is supporting you through ease of doing business initiatives like Decriminalizing Companies Act and so on. And you see that import duty is being rationalized. After 5 years, when PLI is removed and you have made your initial investments, you got to be someone very less with someone with very less business acumen to then leave the country. It's like playing 45 balls, making 25 runs. Now the platform is set to make another 50 in the next 20 balls, and then you say, no, I'll get out, I'm going. That is not something that people do. So I think when Dr. Rajan says that after 5 years, when PLI is removed, people will go away. Well, PLI is not FII. PLI is FDI. So I'm coming in, setting up a factory. I'm making my fixed costs. And after, even if I recover my fixed cost, when the time comes that I'll actually build my profit, and I say, no, now I'll go away, is assuming that India will not give them economies of scale. Given India's market and India's trajectory, I see that happening less. You understand that? That is why, I've heard Dr. Rajan saying many things in the recent past, but believe me, on most of those things, I see him talking more politics than economics. Maybe he's upset with the government for some reason, and, his acumen goes more towards complaining about the government policies, whatever they do, or maybe he's on the Congress roll call, because the political parties offer you कि आप हमारे रोल कॉल पे आइए, हमारे लिए बात करिए और हम आपको कुछ कंपनसेट करेंगे. तो वो हो सकता है. बहुत सारे इकोनॉमिस्ट होते हैं. डॉक्टर कौशिक बासु लुक्स लाइक दैट वन. Similarly, Arvind Panagaria sir is on government side always. So I see that, or maybe it's pure ideology that I support an ideology and the other side doesn't represent it. So I'll talk against. But PLI, if you ask me, again, right now it has looked pretty good in the last 2-3 years of operation. Wherever it has been implemented, whether it is automobile or it is electronics or pharmaceuticals, we are getting some good results at the moment. Now again I'll repeat, but the momentum about infrastructure development, momentum about ease of doing business, and these things have to continue. Also India will have to work a lot. We have a big niggle, to be honest to you, I'm telling you, and it is going to be a big challenge for India. A workforce where a large number of people are not able to work, forget willing to work. That is going to be a big challenge. हमें सबसे ज़्यादा जहाँ नुकसान हो रहा है वो है कि हमारे यूथ के काम करने की आदत खत्म है. और उस केस में ये जो फ्रीबीज आते हैं वो ऑर्डर आते हैं. आप कभी गांव जाइए, आप देखेंगे लोग दिन भर मोबाइल पे लगे हुए हैं और वो 3-4 हज़ार रुपए में खुश हैं, 5 हज़ार रुपए में खुश हैं. और ये कोई गर्व की बात नहीं है. It's not to be proud of. मैं 5 हज़ार रुपए में खुश हूं, साथ में मुझे जन औषधि योजना तुम दे दो, गरीब कल्याण योजना तुम दे दो, उसके साथ हो सके तो कुछ अलग से भी स्कीम दे दो, और उसके अलावा मुझे फ्री फूड योजना भी तुम दे दो. So you give me everything for free and I will watch mobile. That is not something that you want the youth of the country to do. But when I go to semi-urban areas of India, semi-rural areas, I see the two stark differences. One type of youth I meet, which is heavily ambitious and aspirational, and which wants to achieve a lot for itself. Sometimes they don't have the right path. तो वो पूछते हैं आकर कि क्या करें कि जल्दी ग्रो कर सकते हैं, अच्छा कर सकते हैं, आप बताइए. और एक दूसरी तरफ यूथ में देखता हूँ जो completely indifferent है. उनको ज़्यादा मतलब ही नहीं कि क्या होना है क्या नहीं होना. तो ये हमारा एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज होगा फ्यूचर में. और सेकेंड, वेरी एवरेज क्वालिटी ऑफ ट्रेनिंग दैट वी आर गिविंग इन आवर एजुकेशन टू आवर चिल्ड्रन. वेरी एवरेज क्वालिटी. दैट इज अनदर चैलेंज दैट वी आर हैविंग. आप सोच के देखिए, आप आज, मैं अभी की बात कर रहा हूं, एवरेज 10-12 घंटे काम कर रहे हैं. आप में जो भी सिंसियर लोग हैं, 6 घंटे की तो क्लासेस हो जाती हैं आपकी, और उसके ऊपर 6-7 घंटे आप पढ़ लेते हैं. तो 12-13 घंटे का 12-13 आवर्स एवरेज यू आर वर्किंग कंटिन्यूअसली ऑलमोस्ट 7 days a week, forget 6. You are putting 80 hours week. What is so huge about Narayan Murthy ji's 70 hours week? Think about it. कितना ड्रामा मचा दिया हमने. इंडियन एक्सप्रेस तो इतना लिखते रहे जैसे कि उन्हीं से काम करवाया जाएगा. रोज एक आर्टिकल लिख रहे हैं कि उन्हीं को काम करना पड़ेगा. लगता है नहीं, ये गलत है, ये खराब है, ये नहीं होना चाहिए. आप सोच के देखिए, आप कर रहे हैं, क्या मेंटल इशू आ रहे हैं आपको? क्यों कर रहे हैं आप सेल्फ ड्रिवन हैं. आप IAS बनना चाहते हैं, डीप इनसाइड. तो आप कहते हैं बनना तो है मुझे, इसका कॉस्ट है ये 12-13 घंटा काम करना, करके दिखाऊंगा, बनूंगा जरूर। कर सकते हैं आप, ये समझा रहा हूं, तुम कर रहे हो, ये भी नहीं कि मैं किसी और का एग्जाम्पल दे रहा हूं, यू आर डूइंग इट। सो इफ यू कैन डू इट टुडे, व्हाई कांट यू डू इट 5 years later? But imagine if we don't give you the structure to work like that, and if we don't train you to work like that, it will all sound huge. The best answer about his debate I got was from his wife. I actually liked that answer a lot. Somebody asked his wife that he says 70 hours work. Do you support that? She says, look, I have seen him last 50 years, 40 years, working at around 85, 90 hours a week. So I think 70 hours he is being charitable. That he says 70 hours. So that is what people are working. You don't get successful without working longer hours. Everybody has those 24 hours only. So it's our choice, what do we do in it? But my problem is not that. My problem is, why are we angry and upset that why should I work? And if I'm angry and upset, then we say, look, in US they don't work these hours, in Germany they don't work, in Holland they don't work. But these are very rich countries. They can afford working lesser and using productivity as the bulwark. We are not that rich. Look at what these guys were doing when they were our income level. That is what is more important to look at. Look at still what many people who are successful are still doing. Why? And I'm not saying that everybody has to work 12 hours. Please don't get me wrong on that. I will teach you this better when I'm teaching you employment. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying, why discourage by putting things in the mind that if you'd work like that, there will be some trouble and there will be some issues. Why think like that? I am honestly telling you, I am one person sitting in front of you. Last 25 years, after I started my PhD, my average work hours have never been less than 11, 12. It has always been an 85, 90 hours week for me on an average. Some weeks have been 100 hours, 105 hours. The best I have clocked, I remember, is 115, 17 hours in a week. Kept working because there are deadlines to meet. But I never felt, मुझे नहीं शायद पता चल रहा है, maybe I need help, but never felt that I need a psychiatric help, or I'm losing my ambience, or I'm losing my solace, or I want calm and peace. Why? Because it needs to be planned. You plan it across, and I'm not saying, again I repeat, I'm not saying everyone has to do it, but those who are capable to do it, why stop them of doing it? At least let it be a choice. Rather than feeding the youth, no, it's very dangerous, you can't do it, it will affect your brain, it will affect your social life. Social life? I mean, how much social life do we want? And I'm not trying to be negative early morning, but how much will that society recognize me when I'm not a failure, except for when I'm a failure, except for other failures around me? It's a very tough question to answer. कि एक बार आप सक्सीड मत करिए और एक मीडियोकर लाइफ पे चले जाइए, और तब मैं देखूंगा कितने लोग दोस्ती करने को अब तैयार हैं। ये सवाल बहुत जरूरी है पूछना। तो कौन सी सोसाइटी के लिए वर्क कर रहा हूं मैं? आप अब बड़े हो गए हैं, मेरी बात समझेंगे, इसलिए आपसे ये बातें करता हूं। आप लुक बैक कीजिए और अपने फैमिली के, अब आपकी अपनी लाइफ की नहीं, फैमिली के टफ सिचुएशंस को याद कीजिए और देखिए कि उसमें सोसाइटियल हेल्प कितना मिल रहा था आपको। 2-4 लोग जो आपके अच्छे दोस्त हैं फैमिली के, वो आपके साथ स्टैंड कर रहे थे, बट सोसाइटी एट लार्ज, व्हाट वाज इट डूइंग फॉर यू? So why should I be concerned about what they are trying to think? I'm not saying I become an unsocial or an antisocial, but I'm only saying that why should I be overly concerned about the social system? मैं हमेशा कहता हूं, कोई मुझे आके बोलते हैं मेरी शादी में आना ही पड़ेगा, तो अगर मेरे बिना नहीं करोगे तो बताओ, अगर कर ही लोगे मेरे बिना ये क्लास नहीं हो सकती। आज सुबह मैं उठा, मेरा गला पूरा बंद था, तो मैंने पूरी कोशिश की कि मेरा गला खुल जाए और मैं कम से कम बोलने लायक हालत में रहूं, क्योंकि मेरी 3 क्लासेस हैं आज। आफ्टर योर्स आई हैव 2 more sessions to take, because I know that this cannot happen without me. But what can happen without me? Why should I be there leaving what cannot happen without me? आपका ही कोई दोस्त है, बहुत अच्छे दोस्त हैं, और उनका बर्थडे आने वाला है 10 दिन बाद, तो या तो 9 डेज में 90 आवर्स पढ़ लो कि तुम इतना थक गए कि 10th डे ऑटोमेटिक हैप्पी बर्थडे डे हो गया, कि तुम्हें तो पता है 10 दिन बाद बर्थडे आने वाला है, तो पहले से 9 दिन पढ़ के रख लो। और अगर नहीं पढ़े हो तो दोस्त को बोलो कि यार आज शाम को आएंगे, आधे घंटे मिल लेंगे तुमसे, तुम अच्छे दोस्त हो, तुम्हें बर्थडे विश कर देंगे, चले जाएंगे। काम पूरा नहीं किए, इसकी इतनी सजा तो मुझे मिलनी चाहिए, देन आई एम मिसिंग समथिंग which is very dear to me, which is your birthday. Punish yourself like that for a day. Next time the brain will remember it, will never shirk work. और अगर ऐसा नहीं कर सकते, ये भी मैं नहीं करो सबको ये करना है, तो एम्बिशन ये ना रखें, ये कर लें, उसमें दिक्कत क्या है? If the ambition is this, the sacrifice has to be this. Make the ambition this, the sacrifice will be this. Remain happy. At least remain happy. I don't want to do it. That's a basic idea. मेरे एक दोस्त हैं, वो बिल्कुल इसी तरह के थे, उनको करना ही नहीं है, नहीं चाहिए था। He was at Delhi School of Economics with us. Even in the college days, I knew him. Undergraduate days, 50 नंबर के पेपर में 40 नंबर का सॉल्व करके आते थे। And he would come first time when I met him. He's a very good friend of mine. अभी कैनरा बैंक में जनरल मैनेजर हैं, अच्छे पोस्ट पर हैं, अच्छा कर रहे हैं, पर बहुत और कर सकते थे, उनको नहीं चाहिए ही नहीं था। और मुझे नहीं चाहिए, मैं इतने में खुश हूँ। तो क्लियर थे, आज भी खुश हैं जो पा रहे हैं। हमें देखते भी हैं कि तुम ये सब कर गए, तो खुशी दिखाते रहे, वाह भाई तुम तो बहुत आगे बढ़ गए। लेकिन ये नहीं कहते कभी क्यों बढ़ गए, वो मैं भी कर सकता था। ही इज स्टिल द सेम थिंग, ही हैड अ वंडरफुल एटीट्यूड। ही वुड मीट मी, फर्स्ट टाइम आई रिमेंबर 40 मार्क्स ही हैड अटेम्प्टेड। वी केम आउट ऑफ द एग्जाम हॉल, आई सेड हाउ मच डिड यू अटेम्प्ट? 40 का कर दिए। क्यों आता नहीं था बाकी 10 नंबर? आता था, कितना लिखूंगा? This used to be his approach, at undergraduate level. The fellow is saying this, how much do I write? क्या होगा, पास ही तो करना, नंबर ही तो लाना है, क्या फायदा इतना मारा मारी करके? And this approach he continued with all his life. Even today he lives like that. उनको आज भी कोई बात कहो, अरे पंकज तुम अगर ये वाला एग्जाम दे दो तो तुम CMD के लिए सिलेक्ट हो सकते हो, दिमाग खराब है मेरा, ऐसे ही बात करते हैं वो आज भी। इतना करके क्या कर लेना है? So fair enough, you have at least that clarity. I don't want it, and I'm happy not wanting it. But sometimes when I see people sad, it's because I want this, but I want to sacrifice this. That gap has to be bridged. अब क्यों आपको ये बता रहा था? क्योंकि यही प्रेसिपाइस अभी इंडिया के लिए है एज अ कंट्री। We are saying we want to be a developed country by 2047. But if we want to be a developed country by 2047, then everything has to fall right. It's like chasing 400 runs in 50 overs or 350 runs in 50 overs. So you can always chase 350 in 50 overs, but you should have a plan. And again, I repeat, you will need some luck because everything has to fall in place. If everything doesn't fall in place, then we will not be a developed country then. What is that everything? Policies have to be correct. Training of the youth has to be correct. Implementation of policy has to be on time. Structural developments have to take place. And most importantly, the management of business cycle, and I'll teach you that, but business cycle has to be fine, that if the economy is going in a slowdown, come up, step up investments, government can spend more, put the economy up, and if the economy is inflating a lot, step down, spend less, and bring the economy down. Manage it well. If we can do these things next 20, 30 years, we will be a developed economy. I can visualize it now. अगर कोई कहते हैं अरे नहीं ये तो बस हम सपने देखते हैं, ऐसा होगा कैसे? हाउ कैन वी बी अ $20 trillion, $25 trillion economy in the next 25 years? Well, we were a $200 billion economy 30 years back. We are a $3.3 trillion economy today. We have grown 16 times in the last 30 years. Why can't we grow another 8 times in the next 30? I mean, what should stop us? बट इसीलिए आपको रुक के 70 आवर्स वीक का बोलने लगा, दिस कैन स्टॉप अस। अगर हम ही अपने यूथ को बोलने लगे नहीं नहीं हाँ बेटा काम तो नहीं हो सकता, 8 घंटे से ज्यादा तो नहीं कर पाओगे तुम, तो हमने माइंड में फीड कर दिया लगातार 8 घंटे से ज्यादा नहीं कर सकते नहीं कर सकते, तो 8 घंटे के बाद उनको खुद को ही लगेगा अब तो मैं नहीं कर सकता। ये भी मजाक में कह रहा हूं, बट आप याद कीजिए, और अगर आप शरीफ बच्चे थे तो आई एम सॉरी, पर अगर आप मेरी तरह थे तो कॉलेज डेज में ऐसे दिन आए होंगे जब आपने रात भर दोस्तों के साथ पार्टी कर ली होगी, मजे मार लिए होंगे, और फिर भी अपने रेड आईज के साथ सुबह 8 बजे क्लासरूम में बैठे हुए होंगे। ये हैसियत होती है यूथ की, ये पावर है यूथ का। और मैं बहुत डिसिप्लिन पढ़ने लिखने वाला बच्चा था, तो भी मेरे लाइफ में कम से कम 8-10 ऐसी बार हो चुका है, क्योंकि हॉस्टल में था, वो भी बॉयज हॉस्टल, यू कैन वेल इमेजिन। रिस्पाइट ही नहीं, देयर इज नो क्वेश्चन दैट दे विल लेट यू स्लीप, सो फाइनली यू वुड रिजाइन दैट ओके दे वोंट लेट मी स्लीप, एटलीस्ट लेट मी एंजॉय। सोने तो वैसे भी नहीं मिलेगा, मस्ती ही कर लेता हूँ, कब कल की कल देखेंगे। But then knowing that 8 o'clock the class has to be attended, so remaining awake the whole night, then 8 o'clock in the classroom till 1:30, 2:30 the classes are attended, coming back to the hostel, sleeping 3-4 hours continuously or 2 hours continuously, again coming back and studying because next day they will ask again. I was at Delhi school in those days. So 7-8 days had gone like that in the college. Fair enough, but the body sustained it, no? तो रात भर पार्टी करके अगर बॉडी सस्टेन कर सकती है, तो रात भर पढ़ के क्यों नहीं कर सकती? नहीं, मैं रात भर नहीं पढ़ सकता, कल सुबह क्लास है, मैं उठ कैसे पाऊंगा, मेरी तबीयत खराब हो जाएगी। क्यों? अगर तुम एक पूरे दिन नहीं पढ़े और रात के 10 बज गए हैं, ये आई एम सॉरी फॉर द लेक्चर, लेकिन मैं चाहता हूं तुम ये समझ जाओ, अगर रात के 10 बज गए हैं या 11 बज गए हैं, तो ये कह के क्यों सोओगे कि आज का दिन खराब हो गया, हे भगवान बर्बाद कर दिया मैंने, कल सुबह जल्दी उठ के करूंगा? नहीं, बोलो आज के दिन में अभी 10 बजते हैं या 11 बजते हैं, 6 घंटे बचे हुए हैं सुबह होने में, आज 5 घंटे पढ़ूंगा पहले 6 घंटे, और नहीं सोऊंगा, क्लास अटेंड कर लूंगा, लौट के आके फिर सो जाऊंगा। एक दिन नहीं सोने से मैं मरने वाला नहीं हूं। आप एक दिन अपने ब्रेन को ये करके दिखाइए, अगले दिन से वो खुद ही पढ़ लेगा कि भाई ये रात भर जगा देता है, नहीं तो। ब्रेन प्लेज ग्रेट ट्रिक्स विथ अस। एक दिन बॉडी को जगा दो, बस वो ब्रेन सिग्नल देता है बॉडी को, देख लो भाई ये आदमी ऐसा है, ये जगा देगा रात को, और फिर गड़बड़ हो जाती है, बहुत थकान होती है, आंखें बंद होती है, जलती हैं, इससे अच्छा अभी पढ़ लो, रात को सो लेना। देन वी आर ऑन ट्रैक अगेन। But scaring ourselves, no, I should not do it, what will I do, planning ahead and so on. एक आखिरी बात और तुम्हें बताता हूँ, जैसे तुम्हारे दिमाग में भी आना शुरू होगा, मेरा प्रीलिम्स तो फिर भी ठीक लग रहा है, लेकिन मेरे मेंस पे कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं आ रहा, आंसर राइटिंग नहीं हुई है। तुम प्रीलिम्स पास कर लो, वही तो करके दिखाओ, मैं उसमें खुश हो जाऊंगा। ये सब माइंड का तरीका होता है आपको मूर्ख बनाने का, समझिएगा मेरी बात। जैसे ही प्रेशर पड़ता है ना, माइंड उसमें वेंट ढूंढता है, कोई रास्ता मिले मैं भागूं, बचूं किसी तरह, तो वो आपको फीडबैक देना शुरू करेगा, भाई तुम तैयार तो हो लेकिन नहीं हो, लग नहीं रहा है, लगता है 25 देना ही पड़ेगा, 24 पे तो अभी खतरा लग रहा है, अभी नवंबर दिसंबर है, अभी क्या खतरा है, पढ़ो जम के मार्च तक, 24 मई को डिसाइड करना कि प्रीलिम्स देना है या नहीं। यू हैव टाइम टिल देन। अगर तुम एग्जाम हॉल में जाके साइन नहीं करते हो फॉर्म भरने के बाद भी, तुम्हारा अटेम्प्ट काउंट नहीं होता, your attempt will not be counted. Study like the world is at stake till 23rd May evening. 24th May को फिर भी तुम्हें लगता है कि मेरा प्रीलिम्स नहीं होगा या मेंस नहीं होगा, ऐसे ख्याल आते हैं, फिर मत देना, देख लेंगे उस वक्त। बट पढ़े तो पहले। दिसंबर से ही escape route ढूंढना शुरू करता है माइंड, लग रहा है नहीं होगा, लगता है टाइम और चाहिए। कब हुआ है परफेक्ट प्रिपरेशन? हर एग्जाम में जाते हो यही सोचे ना, 2 दिन मिल जाते तो मैं दुनिया फोड़ देता। हर एग्जाम की कहानी है। Every exam the mind says that 2 days I would have changed the world. Those 2 days never come. That's ideal world. तो ये प्रिपरेशन की बात कर रहा था, बट आपको इसलिए कह रहा था कि जो माइक्रो लेवल पे अभी ट्रू है एग्जाम एंड ऑल, वही मैक्रो लेवल पे कंट्री के लिए ट्रू है। एवरीडे वर्क, रेगुलर वर्क, अचीविंग इट, मेकिंग राइट पॉलिसीज एंड सपोर्टिंग देम विथ राइट स्ट्रक्चर, and then you grow better. Keep this discussion in mind because the next 1 hour I'm going to build upon that. All right. Now you write benefits of PLI. Benefits of PLI. Thank you, Parth, for wishing me well. Yes, it did, Jyoti. I could read through your notes, I mean your messages, and it was correct, perfect. These are correct statements that you are making to me, and the statements on the online chat box, I can read through them. They're correct enough. that again, Geetika, I'm answering your question. The question is, I'm answering, applying it to you also, that at this time, the industries selected like drone, automobile, etc., require a lot of skilled labor. Considering this, would this help employment situation in India, with majority at the moment not equipped with the requisite skills? This is the error we do in analysis sometimes. So understand it like this. When you are, first of all, it is not only on these, it is also on textile, it is also on white goods like refrigerators, etc., or washing machine, televisions. It is also on electronic goods. So these do create employment, number one. Secondly, second point, these commodities are produced using components which are manufactured by the small scale industries. So once you develop a Philip here, they give order to small scale industries grow, and they create employment generation. Number three, if you can create output worth 40 lakh crore in a country, creating income even for the comparatively skilled workforce, 40 lakh crore, the multiplier effect operates. If I am getting more money, then I will hire a driver, I will hire a cab, I will go to a restaurant, I will be buying clothes, I will be buying shoes, and when I'll buy all these things, I'm creating income for other people whose industries may not be in PLI. Understand that? As an economist, I can tell you this, we in India have a natural aversion towards creating money. पता नहीं हमें क्या इंजेक्शन दे दिया गया है कि जैसी बात होती है ना, पैसा बनेगा इस बात से, नहीं ये बात नहीं होनी चाहिए, दुनिया में कुछ और हो जाए, हम उसके सारे ऑब्जेक्शंस ढूंढ लेते हैं. दूसरी बात, skilled workforce is there in India which is unemployed. You need employment for them. I was saying this yesterday also, that mechanical engineers are working in software, so create automobile revolution in India so that those guys get work at the right space. तो ये जरूरी है करना, नहीं है उनके पास, आप फार्मास्यूटिकल इंडस्ट्री डेवलप करेंगे, आपके केमिकल इंजीनियर्स के लिए भी काम मिलेगा, क्योंकि वो कनेक्टेड इंडस्ट्रीज हैं आपस में. तो कभी भी ये नहीं सोचना चाहिए कि लिनियरली कि अच्छा पीएलआई इन 14 इंडस्ट्रीज में है तो यही 14 इंडस्ट्रीज जो है वो वर्कआउट करेंगे. इंडस्ट्रीज आर लिंक्ड टू ईच अदर एंड देन द इकोनॉमी इज अ होल सिस्टम लिंक्ड टू एंटायर थिंग. सो पीएलआई, अगेन आई रिपीट, cannot be a game changer on its own, but PLI is something where employment problems can also be solved because of the linkages throughout the economy. And even in PLI, there are certain sectors which are labor intensive and capable of creating employment, like the white goods sector, manufacturing of textile. These are sectors where employment can be generated. Automobile components, these are all labor intensive sectors of India. So think always in that direction. Okay, now the first benefit you write of PLI, it has the potential to contribute, more than $500 billion to Indian economy in the next 5 years, directly through production enhancement. Second, it can place India at an important position in global supply chain network. Which can enhance India's export capacity. Okay, I'm explaining to you a few things. Please understand this. Suppose this is a manufacturing company, and suppose this manufacturing company buys its raw materials from, say, these three companies, and these three companies buy their raw material from, say, these list of companies. I can go doing it multiple times, but let us say these are the companies which supply raw material to these companies, all right? And then the manufacturing company produces commodities, stores that commodity, takes the commodity for grading. Grading means the ISI mark, AG mark kind of a thing, and packaging, जहां पे मेजरमेंट की जाएगी, चीजों की ग्रेड किया जाएगा कि अच्छी क्वालिटी के हैं या नहीं, और फिर पैकेज कर दिया जाएगा. वन प्लेस वेयर मेजरमेंट विल बी डन. लाइक व्हेन वी बाय अ टोमेटो केचप बॉटल और अ टी बैग, वी डोंट necessarily weight again, no, we accept the weight mentioned. Why? Because it has been graded that okay, this commodity is of 1 kg or half a kg. So that is called grading and packaging along with measurement. So they will get it done there, and after grading, packaging and measurement has been done, these companies will supply their products to wholesalers. I can believe we understand wholesalers. People who buy in bulk and sell it to, say these are the 4 wholesalers to whom this company sells. There can be multiple again. And these wholesalers will then sell the products to retailers. Retailers कौन हो गए? जिनसे हम और आप खरीदते हैं. Shopkeepers. So small shops, big shops, some retailers purchasing them or selling to them, and these retailers will then sell the commodity to consumers finally in the market. All right. Now, whatever you see to the left here, this part, this is called backward linkage of the firm. जो भी ये raw material suppliers का chain है ना, you know, this chain of raw material, and I have kept it simplified. I could have taken it further back. I could have extended those further more. Or there can be multiple traders and there can be multiple raw material suppliers and so on. But this is called the backward linkage for this manufacturing company. That this is their raw material sources. And this part, everything in green, is said to be the forward linkage for this manufacturing company. All right, this is the backward linkage and this is the forward linkage. And when you combine this entire thing, backward linkage and forward linkage, what you get is what is called supply chain network. All right, जब आप इन सब को combine कर देते हैं, तब जो बनता है, उसे कहते हैं supply chain network. All right, so that is the idea of a supply chain, that when you combine backward linkages and when you combine forward linkages, इन सब को अगर combine कर दूं, तो इनको कंबाइन करके जो बना ये पूरा सर्कल, इसे ही कहेंगे सप्लाई चेन. ऑलराइट, this is how we explain a supply. Now, I gave you a very simplified supply chain. It can be more complex than this. All right. I'm sure you can visualize that there can be more raw material suppliers, and the raw material suppliers can be among themselves supplying many things, and so on. And similarly, there can be much more number of wholesalers, and it is not necessary that there is wholesaler, retailer, consumer. There can be wholesalers and sub-wholesalers and sub-wholesalers and then retailers and so on. All big retailers, small retailers, and so on. But that is a complex web of supply chain that we create. So somebody will make one component, somebody will make another component, somebody will make another component. They will all be assembled at one place. That will make one structure. जैसे किसी ने nuts बना दिए, किसी ने bolts बना दिया, किसी ने cloth बना दिया, मिलाकर के सब ने fan belt बना दिया. किसी ने fan belt बना दिया, किसी ने gates बना दिए, किसी ने screen बना दी, मिलाकर एक car बना दी. You understand that? So this is supply chain network that we call about. Now, when I made you write this, the idea is that if India can become a part of this network for majority of commodities, that a lot of inputs can be manufactured in India, a lot of output can be manufactured in India. India can import from abroad also a lot, but then India exports also a lot from us. You understand that? There is a global supply chain network, and India playing an important role in it. Because what will happen, if India can play an important role in it, then it will mean that people will not refuse exports to us. People will not refuse exports to us because they will also be dependent on some of our exports. The objective of PLI is that make sure that on 13, 14 commodities, we do that. All right. And another objective is to make sure that gradually but assuredly our excessive dependence on China with respect to a lot of commodities, manufacturers that we buy from them can be reduced. Because that diversification is very important. All right. Now you write the third benefit. You write, it will promote employment by increasing economic activity and when I will teach you employment, I'll make it clearer to you. But remember, there are few facets of unemployment in India on which we are not focusing at the moment very well. All right, we should focus on that. One facet is rising voluntary unemployment in India at times, not only among women, but at times among men also, because many people are relying on rental income. So with rental income, many people are not reporting at work, and they report themselves as unemployed at times. All right, that is challenge one. Another challenge we see in our country regarding employment is even if government creates employment, the sheer increase in workforce is huge. आप सोच के देखिए, who are the people looking for employment today? People who would be born sometimes between 1991 to 2001. These are the people who would be looking for employment in 2021, 22, 23, because these are the people who would be 30, 31, 32, 21, 22, 23. So that is the age group that normally looks for employment, 20 to 30. But imagine now, in 1991, we were 84 crore people, and by 2001, we were 107 crore people. We added 23 crore people into the population. Let's assume for a second that even 6 crore among them are not willing to work or ready to work, etc. Still, you have 17 crore people looking for work. That means 1.7 crore people looking for work every year extra. And it keeps getting added. Now 1.7 crore is some number you are looking at, 17 million. So as a government, even if I create a 10 million job, I'll still fall short by 7 million. Another challenge in India, which I was telling you yesterday also, is not the quantity of job, but the quality of job, and that lies in lack of manufacturing. That the quality of job is not a very good quality for many of our youth. And you know what we are doing? अब इसको connect करो जो आज अभी थोड़ी देर पहले कह रहा था. when we make the degrees cheap, which we have done in India, then we give people the bloated ego that I am a graduate, I am a postgraduate, I am a PhD, but they don't have the wisdom about it. Now, they don't want to do an organized sector job because I am a graduate. Why would I do that? And they don't have the capability to be in the organized sector because they are a graduate only on paper. It's a big anomaly India is facing, and it's a ticking time bomb. We should get careful as quickly as possible. कि जब तक हम इस पे केयरफुल नहीं होंगे यहाँ गड़बड़ होगी, क्योंकि हम लोगों का ईगो ब्लोट कर देते हैं. मैं तो ग्रेजुएट हूँ, मैं थोड़ी ई रिक्शा चलाऊंगा, और चलाते भी हैं तो बोलते हैं देखिए मैं ग्रेजुएशन करके ई रिक्शा चला रहा हूँ. इसका मतलब नहीं पढ़े ठीक से. क्योंकि दूसरे तरफ कंपनीज ये कह रहे हैं, आप समझिएगा मेरी बात, द कंपनीज आर सेइंग वी आर नॉट फाइंडिंग इनफ स्किल्ड वर्कफोर्स इन इंडिया. देयर इज अ कंटिन्यूअस कंप्लेन बाय द कॉर्पोरेट रिगार्डिंग दैट. And believe me, it's a problem. I gave up an advertisement recently, around a month back, regarding assistance that I need in my work, and I put it across various places. I have interviewed close to around 60 people at the moment and have not been able to finalize on anyone because the capabilities are so low. The understanding of the subject is missing. तो जैसे ही इंटरव्यू करता हूँ, सवाल पूछना शुरू करता हूँ, वो एक्सपोज होना शुरू हो जाती है बात. तो ये समझा रहा हूँ कि ये बहुत बड़ा, और अगर इनको आप बोलिए कि नहीं तुम्हारे पास डिग्री तो है पर तुम जानते नहीं अपना सब्जेक्ट, एक बार वापस जाओ पढ़ो इस सब्जेक्ट को फिर से, तो गुस्सा भी होंगे लोग, मैं दोबारा क्यों पढ़ूं. पर दोबारा तो तब आता है ना जब पहली बार पढ़े. If I don't study the first time, I got to study it someday first time to be employed in a skilled work. So this is a challenge we are having in India, creating employment issues in India. पहले क्या होता था, कम पढ़ाई लिखाई थी लोगों के पास, डिग्रीज टफ थी लेनी, तो बहुत लोग खुद को एग्रीकल्चर में अब्सॉर्ब कर लेते थे, अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में अब्सॉर्ब करते थे, that okay fine, I'm educated this much, I'll get this job. Today that's not happening. Again I repeat, because we have made our degrees cheap, and this today doesn't begin today. This today is since last 25 odd years, 20 odd years. The degrees are gradually becoming cheap, and it's not a good augmentation. It's a bad idea for India. So employment in India is a more complex story than how we simplify it and speak about it. And then there are genuine issues like lack of investment. There are genuine issues like lack of labor force protection. There are issues like that. So it's a combination of everything. Always keep it in mind before you answer any question on why employment is an issue in India. Well, it will remain an issue in India till we don't train our workforce well. That is where it will remain an issue. And it will remain an issue in India till we don't invest well. But equally importantly, it will remain an issue till we don't work on the quality of the jobs that we are creating. Quantity of jobs there are tremendous, but quality is what we have to work upon. Okay, एक और बात भी है, मैं कल भी आपसे ये कह रहा था, people believing that day one I should be the CEO of the company. ये एक बहुत जबरदस्त इंडियन मिडिल क्लास में प्रॉब्लम है. कभी कभी पेरेंट्स को ये गलती करते देखता हूँ. वो बच्चा आया खुश होकर बता रहा है, डैड आई गॉट अ जॉब ऑफ 15,000 रुपीज, 20,000 रुपीज, और मॉम आई गॉट दिस, और वो बोलते हैं अरे इतने तो हम दे देंगे तुम्हें. इट्स अ शेयर बैड आइडिया. मैंने अपने सिस्टर इन लॉ को करेक्ट किया था एक बार, वो यही कह रहे थे अपने बेटे को, दिस मच मनी आई विल गिव यू. ही इज एन इंजीनियर बाय प्रैक्टिस, और उनको एक नौकरी मिली थी पहली, वो कुछ 15-20 हज़ार रुपए की थी. ये 4-5 साल पहले की बात हो गई. उन्होंने आए कि बोले कि माँ मुझे ये नौकरी मिल गई. इंसिडेंटली हम लोग उनके घर पे ही थे उस वक्त. उन्होंने कहा इतने पैसे तो हम दे देंगे तुम्हें. मैंने कहा साथ में वर्क एक्सपीरियंस भी देंगे आप, क्लाइंट हैंडल करने का ट्रेनिंग भी देंगे आप, बॉस मैनेज करने का ट्रेनिंग भी देंगे आप, कमोडिटी को कैसे प्रोडक्शन लाइन में डाला जाता है वो भी ट्रेनिंग देंगे आप. और अगर वो सब आप नहीं दे सकते तो क्यों इसको झूठा दिलासा दे रहे हैं कि पैसे तो हम ही दे देंगे, क्योंकि नौकरी आप पैसे के अलावा ये सारा कुछ देगी इसको. जो पैसे के साथ मिलेगा, आप सिर्फ पैसा देंगे. Thankfully the kid was smart, he listened to me rather than his mother. The fellow is well placed today, working in earning 6 figures in his engineering field only. क्योंकि 5 साल काम किए, वर्क एक्सपीरियंस हुआ, ग्रोइंग अप द लैडर हुए, अपने आप इनकम अच्छी आ जाती है. पर पहले दिन कैसे 2 लाख रुपया महीना कमाएंगे भाई सब लोग. तो ये हमारे जो कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, ये सोशल एंड इकोनॉमिक इश्यूज हैं, इफ वी कैन रिजॉल्व देम इवन देन इट विल बी अ पॉसिबिलिटी। हम विमेन को बोलते हैं तुम काम मत करो क्योंकि मैं अच्छा कमाता हूं। ये बहुत कॉमनली इंडिया में किया जाता है। द वाइफ इज टोल्ड व्हाई शुड यू वर्क, आई अर्न बेटर। इमेजिन द वाइफ सेइंग ऑपोजिट, डोंट वरी आई विल अर्न बेटर देन यू, यू स्टे होम। Then the man doesn't listen, no? Then the man would say, no, 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 I'm a man, I've got to work. Similarly, she's a woman, she's got to work. Work is not only earning money, is what I'm trying to drive home. It's also about a lot of identity you create for yourself. It's a target you set for yourself. It's your morning business, occupation. So remain occupied. You know, it's that important. But that again deters many people from being in the labor force participation. They don't participate in the labor force because the family is telling them, अरे तुम इतना नौकरी क्या करोगे, इससे अच्छा घर पे रहो, फैमिली तो अच्छा कमा ही रही है। विमेन को जबरदस्त डिस्करेज किया जाता है काम करने से। Half of the workforce not working then. What is the business about it? Why should the woman not work even if the man is earning a lot? Women should still be working. Men lie, जो मेरा है तुम्हारा ही तो है, तो फिर पेपर पे लिख के दो। अगर जो मेरा है वो तुम्हारा है तो ये कैसी बात हुई कि मेरे कोई पार्टनर है से मेरे वाइफ हैं और उनको मुझसे पॉकेट मनी लेना पड़ेगा। ये तो डिह्यूमनाइजिंग इम्पैक्ट है। बच्चे थोड़ी ही हो कि पॉकेट मनी मांगे, मुझे आकर बोले मुझे ये खरीदना है, मैं ले सकती हूँ, अच्छा देखता हूँ इस महीने के अंत में। ये कैसी बातें हो रही है? वो अपना कमाएंगे, अपना खरीदने का मन करेगा खरीदेंगे, मेरे लिए भी कुछ खरीद के लाना है ले आएंगे। अच्छी बात है, मुझे उनके लिए कुछ खरीदना है मैं खरीद लूंगा। दो लोग एक साथ रहेंगे अच्छे से तभी जब दोनों कॉन्फिडेंट हो। इंटरडिपेंडेंसी डजंट क्रिएट कॉन्फिडेंस। बट ये सोशल समझ नहीं है हमें, इसलिए भी अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट होती है। That many people don't report or are not allowed to work at times because they are told no, this is not your job. Then people say, oh, what will happen to the caregiving at home? Well, both men and women can work outside, and therefore both men and women can work at home. दोनों घर का काम कर सकते हैं, इसमें क्या दिक्कत की बात हो गई? जरूरी नहीं शुरू में आप बहुत रिच हो कि कोई हेल्प रख सके, कोई जरूरत नहीं हेल्प रखने की। रात को दोनों लोग लौट कर आए, ऑल्टरनेट डेज प्लान कर लीजिए। एक दिन एक आदमी खाना बना देंगे, एक दिन दूसरा आदमी बना देंगे, 2 टाइम का खाना हो जाएगा, एक अगला दिन चला लीजिए उससे। एक दिन एक आदमी सफाई कर देंगे, दूसरे दिन दूसरे आदमी सफाई कर देंगे। एक दिन तो इसमें प्रॉब्लम क्या होगी फिर? बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली द सोशल ट्रेनिंग इज नॉट दैट। एंड आप चिंता मत कीजिए, मैंने ये सब किया है लाइफ में तब आपसे कह रहा हूं। आई हैव प्रैक्टिस्ड इट एंड देन सेइंग ऑल दिस टू यू। सो सोशल ट्रेनिंग शुड बी देयर that man and woman can grow together. They can be support to each other rather than only woman being the support to the man. तो ये क्योंकि आप अभी जो मैंने आपको कहा ना, ये बहुत गूढ़ विषय है। हम पहले विमेन को कहते हैं कि जो मेरा है तुम्हारा है, तुम्हें चिंता करने की कोई बात नहीं, यू डोंट वरी, ऑल दैट इज माइन इज योर्स। बट जब 20 साल बीत गए, अब बेटा जो है हमारा वो 16-17 साल का हो गया। अब बेटे ने बोला मैं तो आर्ट्स पढ़ना चाहता हूँ। पापा बोले नहीं तुम्हें साइंस पढ़ना पड़ेगा। मम्मी ने बोली अरे थोड़ा आर्ट्स पढ़ लेने दो इसको, मेरे पैसे से ये सब नहीं होगा। अभी तक तो बोल रहे थे जो मेरा है तुम्हारा है, बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू टेकिंग इंपॉर्टेंट डिसीजन ऑफ लाइफ, सडनली वो सारा पैसा मेरा हो गया, डिसीजन मैं लूंगा अब। तो ये आपको समझा रहा हूं। देन द वुमन कैन फील चीटेड। उनको लगा ये तो 20 साल बाद धप्पा कर दिए। अभी तक समझा रहे थे कि जो कुछ मेरा है तुम्हारा है। बिगेस्ट इशू जो मेल्स के साथ होता है, आप देखिएगा, मुझे उम्मीद है आप लोग वो मेल्स नहीं बनेंगे। वो अपने फीमेल्स को बोलते हैं मैं कमाता हूं, तुम चिंता मत करो, मैं अच्छा कमाता हूं, तुम घर रहकर आराम करो। आराम करो? आराम है कहां घर में भाई? किसी और के कपड़े निकालो, किसी और का खाना बनाओ, किसी और के बर्तन साफ करो, अगर कोई काम करने आ भी रहे हैं तो किसी और को मैनेज करो किसी और के काम को करने के लिए। एक दिन खाना थोड़ा खराब हो गया तो सबकी डांट खाओ, एक दिन कपड़े निकालने में देरी हो गई तो नाराजगी सहो, वो भी किसी और का। मुझे अपने कपड़े निकालने में मैं समझ सकता हूं, मैं किसी और के कपड़े क्यों निकालूं? भाई तुम निकालो अपने कपड़े, बच्चे हो क्या, हाथ पैर है, पहन लो, या फिर तमीज से रहो कि भाई मेरी औकात नहीं है अपने कपड़े निकालने की, प्लीज तुम निकाल दो। और थोड़ा जल्दी कर देना क्योंकि मैं ऑफिस में नहीं तो देर हो जाऊंगा, प्लीज ध्यान रख लेना। इसमें हक जताने की कौन सी बात हो गई? बट दैट्स नॉट द लाइफ वी गिव आवर women. So this is something we got to be very careful about. That then women out of the workforce is women disempowerment. You know, पहले ये नहीं होता था। 2 जनरेशन पहले males used to be smarter. They knew that the woman is doing a lot of work at home. आप देखेंगे कभी कभी अपने घरों में भी दादी जी की ज्यादा चल रही होती है, दादाजी चुपचाप से बैठे रहते हैं। उनको जाकर आप कहेंगे भी ये कर लूं, पूछ ले वही दादी से जो कहती है वैसे कर ले। क्यों? दादी जी ने पूरे लाइफ पूरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ले ली, तो अब दादाजी जानते हैं कि इनसे पंगा नहीं ले सकते। शी टेक्स द इंटायर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ द हाउस इंक्लूडिंग माइन। But that is okay provided the woman is okay with it. But the point is then the woman will have an even larger responsibility of looking after the entire house. In the modern world it's not happening. In the modern world if the women are left at home, they are not at home still. No offense is meant, but think about it. एक आदमी आ गए बर्तन साफ कर दिए, एक आदमी आ गए कपड़ा धो दिए, एक आदमी आ गए बच्चे को पढ़ा दिए, एक आदमी आ गए घर को साफ कर दिए, एक आदमी आ गए जो गाड़ी चला देंगे, और विमेन जो है वो किटी में है। वेस्टेज ऑफ वर्कफोर्स। इससे अच्छा काम पे होते तो कुछ ज्यादा सेंसिबल काम कर रहे होते। तो ये सोसाइटी को ये इंडिया चेंजिंग सोसाइटी है, इसलिए कह रहा हूं ये समझना पड़ेगा दैट unless women also empower themselves and men support them in getting empowered, the men will in turn get supported by the women to get empowered, and then the society grows better. Rather than, and then unemployment issues can be resolved much better. तो जब भी कोई आपसे अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट पे बात करें, आप ये 2-4 फैसेट्स जरूर टच करिए कि ये भी इश्यूज हैं इंडिया में, rather than simply saying that we don't have enough jobs. You know, these are the issues that we see in our country also. All right, now you write the 5th point, 4th point, okay. PLI will promote higher production within the country, which will increase demand for inputs and in turn support MSME is micro, small, medium enterprises. MSME in production units. And then one more you write. PLI has the potential to attract foreign investments to India We already see them coming in, Apple coming in or Samsung coming in a larger scale, Hyundai coming in on a larger scale, like जितने पर वो थे उससे ज़्यादा scale पे production करना. So foreign investments in India, which will improve technology, and increase production capacity which will contribute to GDP growth, and exchange rate stabilization. GDP growth, and exchange rate stabilization. Why exchange rate stabilization? Because it will bring a lot of foreign exchange into the country. Next, then you write challenges of PLI. Challenges of PLI. First, it is possible that value addition in India, it is possible that value addition in India is lesser than subsidy of PLI, which will create higher net outflow. Higher net outflow means जो पैसा आया उससे ज़्यादा हमने दे दिया. Alright, that won't be a good idea. Second, you write, if labor law reforms are not continued and implemented, then the industry might choose capital intensive technology which can result in less employment generation. Third, the level of infrastructure required to sustain the very high planned growth under PLI is not present at the moment in India. Like, the kind of storage capacity we will need, the kind of transport capacity. Like, look at this supply chain. What do you see here? You need to transport things from one space to another. You need to store it everywhere. We need to have facilities for grading, packaging, and measurement. इन्हीं को जब तुम मिलाते हो ना, expenditure on transport, expenditure on storage, expenditure on grading, packaging, measurement, combine them together, they are called logistical cost. And that logistical cost is still high in India. All right, the expenditure we need to do on transportation, expenditure we need to do on storage capacity, expenditure we need to do on packaging and grading, etc. All these together is called logistical cost. So this logistical cost is still a high value which we need to control. So infrastructure growth will be needed badly, which government is focusing on. They're doing it. We're talking about today. That today we don't have it presently. And then one more challenge of PLI, you write, it can result in lobbying by firms, lobbying by firms to extend the time period or to extend the scheme to various other industries comma, which can result in inefficient project choice, which can result in inefficient project choice. So that is again something we should be careful about, because in India it is commonly seen that there will be a lot of lobbying and people will say include my industry also, include my industry also, and then in the pressure if the government gives up, then we will end up diluting the resource, spending it various places. Sorry. Now the conclusion is that a PLI is a good beginning. As I told you already, PLI is a good beginning. But PLI alone cannot improve manufacturing in India. So PLI can be a support, but PLI cannot be the policy. Because PLI के भरोसे manufacturing grow कर जाए. So that is always the way you should conclude. That PLI is a good beginning, it's a good policy, giving us some good results, but PLI alone without structural reforms cannot result in improving production. I hope we can stay on that. All right, then you write the second point. First point was PLI and steps taken to promote manufacturing. Second point, now you write.
Can you say that the PLI scheme can indirectly promotes ये directly promote नहीं करता
MSME को? हाँ बिल्कुल, क्योंकि इतने लार्ज स्केल पे एमएसएमई प्रोड्यूस नहीं कर पाएंगे। नहीं 14 इंडस्ट्रीज में एमएसएमई फर्म्स हैं, लेकिन वो एमएसएमई फर्म जब आएगा लार्ज स्केल पे प्रोडक्शन करना तो वो तो नहीं कर पाएंगे ना। ठीक है, ऑल राइट। No, the actual sales. You have to show the invoice after sales. All right. Okay. You write the second point then. You write, government has increased. जितने भी steps हैं. Government has increased expenditure. Government has increased expenditure on capital creation. Capital creation, I hope you understand, making roads, developing railways, electricity. This is capital creation. So on capital creation, from less than 2.5 lakh crore, from less than 2.5 lakh crore in 2019 to more than 10 lakh crore by 2023-24, including budget of 2.9 lakh crore, including budget of 2.9 lakh crore for road development, 2.9 lakh crore for road development, 2.4 lakh crore $2.4 lakh crore for railway capital infusion, more than 350 crore for storage capacity development, more than 350 crore for storage capacity development, etc. In order to reduce logistical cost, in order to reduce logistical cost from 13% of GDP to below 9% of GDP by 2030. In the same thing you can continue. Government has also announced National Logistics Policy. I will teach you National Logistics Policy with current affairs because it is still growing. More things are coming up in that. So with current affairs, we will be doing National Logistics Policy. At the moment, you just write this up. So has also announced National Logistics Policy to improve coordination among different departments and modes of transport along with provision of digital public infrastructure, to promote better logistical support for firms compared to the current situation. And in the same point, you write one more thing. These 2-3 things can be used as steps taken by the government to improve logistical support in India. All right, in case they ask you a particular question just on that. All right, so third thing you write within that, in 2017, government gave infrastructure status to logistical industry. Which implies that they can take more loans. There are certain devoted funds which give loans only to infrastructure industries. So this infrastructure status is given by the government. So in 2017, they gave them this infrastructure status. One benefit of that is you can get more loans from the market. So more loans, they can get cheaper loans. Cheaper loans imply that lesser interest rate will be charged. So they can get cheaper loans, and they will have the benefit of faster clearance of files. faster clearance of files. All right, that is the benefit that they will have, that their files will be cleared faster than the others. I mean, if it's a choice that 2 files have to be disposed of, the infrastructure status industry file is cleared first. So these are certain steps taken by the government. इसके कुछ फायदे भी हुए हैं. The logistical cost of India used to be 17% of GDP in 2016. And then the government started making efforts to reduce these, and today we have brought it down to 13%. So from 17% of GDP, it is now 13% of GDP in the last, say, 5-6 years. There have been schemes like Bharatmala, Sagarmala to develop road, develop ports, and so on, airport modernization. So there have been schemes run to improve the infrastructure and all. So the logistical cost has come down. But still, if we compare it to the competitors, like say China has a logistical cost of 8% of GDP. We have it at 13%. So that is the higher price or higher cost of doing business in India. The government is trying to improve upon that. What is the idea of multimodal thing? That coordination between airways, railways, waterways, and roadways, and then making it sure that fastest mode of communication is used, using a combination of all these rather than depending on any one of them. All right, so this is all being practiced now to harness large-scale production. All right, then you write third point. Third point in steps taken to promote industrialization. You write, government has simplified the tax structure with respect to both corporate tax and income tax to encourage investment by firms and consumption in the economy. So consumption will pull up demand, and when people will see high demand, they would like to invest more, and corporate tax low will imply that they are incentivized to invest more and report their income. The thing is that, again, you must have done the reduction in corporate tax with Reddy sir by now. In 2019-20, the government did these reductions. The corporate tax rates were reduced from 30% to 25% for small industries in India with turnover less than 400 crore. That all those industries which had turnover of less than 400 crore, the corporate tax rates were reduced from 30% to 25%. Similarly, corporate tax was reduced from 30% to 22% for those industries in India which did not take exemptions from the government. कि जैसे अगर आप सरकार से कोई भी exemption नहीं लेते कि मैंने यहाँ खर्चा किया इसलिए मुझे टैक्स कम देना है या वहाँ खर्चा किया इसलिए टैक्स कम देना है, तो सरकार कहते हैं फिर आप 22% पे टैक्स दो, 30% पे नहीं. All right, and corporate tax has been reduced from 30% to 15% for all new industries in India set up after 3rd October 2019, and the avenue is open till industries establishing till 3rd October 24. अगर आप इंडिया में एक कंपनी है जो 3rd October 2019 के बाद सेटअप हुए और 3rd October 2024 तक ये available है, that then you will have to pay corporate tax at only 15% in the first 5 years of your operation. So all these benefits government introduced with the budget of 1920. Again, unfortunately, many people started showing that this is a benefit only to corporates. But and government will lose money and tax collection will go down. 5.2 lakh crore was the tax collection of India, corporate tax collection in 2019-20. And 8.2 lakh crore is the corporate tax collection by 2023-24. 60% increase in a span of 4 years in spite of COVID pandemic and in spite of global war and in spite of interest rates being high, which discourages investments actually. So we have to be careful about what we are talking. That when we say that corporate tax reduction is only going to benefit the corporates and government will lose money, the data doesn't show that. But unfortunately, I still see people writing the same thing in the newspapers. That corporate tax reduction is helping the corporates and it is not helping, and it is resulting in a tax expenditure loss for the government. Tax expenditure loss is a notional idea. Tax expenditure क्या होता है? आप नहीं सीखे अभी? आपने फिस्कल पॉलिसी की है रेड्डी सर के साथ? नहीं. Okay, when you'll do it with him, you'll learn it. But since I mentioned the word, I'll explain it to you. So suppose I give you a tax rebate today. All right, if I give you a tax rebate today, 1 year later or 2 years later, now if I calculate that if I had not given you the tax rebate and the income you are reporting and the GDP which is growing would have been at today's rate, then how much tax I would have collected. जैसे मैं आपको एग्जांपल देके बताता हूँ. सपोज करिए दैट आज का टैक्स रेट है 30%. आज की रिपोर्टेड इनकम जो है वो 100 रुपीज है, तो आज का टैक्स कलेक्टेड हो गया 30 रुपीज. अब मैंने ये टैक्स रिबेट दे दिया और आपका टैक्स रेट कर दिया 20%. ये जो टैक्स रेट मैंने 20% कर दिया, सपोज इसके बाद इकोनॉमी में एक्टिविटीज बढ़ गई, मोर पीपल स्टार्ट वर्किंग, दे फील इंसेंटिवाइज्ड, मोर पीपल स्टार्ट रिपोर्टिंग देयर मनी बिकॉज दे फील ओके द टैक्स रेट इज लेस, लेट्स पे द मनी एंड कीप अ वाइट मनी रादर देन ब्लैक मनी. सो से मोर एंड मोर दीज थिंग्स हैपन एंड द GDP rises to 200 rupees. All right, and then my tax collection becomes 40 rupees. Now this is an improvement for the government as you look at it, but the idea of tax expenditure is that what I will do is I'll say if there was 30% tax levied on 200 rupees, I would have collected 60 rupees tax while I am collecting 40 rupees tax, which means I am losing 20 rupees. This becomes my tax expenditure. You understand that? But this is a ridiculous thing. ये बढ़ा ही इसलिए क्योंकि आप टैक्स रेट कम किए. You understand that? You reduce the tax rate, it increased. आप नहीं कम करते ये नहीं बढ़ता. लेकिन ये एक इकोनॉमिक्स में एक थ्योरी है, उस पे बेस्ड है. So you don't need to go into the theory part, but the idea is that this is the tax expenditure aspect. What many people do in newspapers is they pick up the tax expenditure number and they say very nicely that corporate tax rate has been reduced since 2019-20, resulting in a tax expenditure of 1.3 lakh crore, which is helping the corporates. And the reality is that the tax collection of India, corporate tax collection, has gone up by 3 lakh crore, that is 60%, while nominal GDP of India has not gone up by even 30% in the same time period. Which shows tax collection has gone up with a buoyancy of more than 2 compared to the nominal GDP growth that we are having. So this is the way misleading things are done, by speaking half-truths at times. So be careful. This is again a reform we have done in the recent past, and now it is again bearing some fruit for us. In the same thing you write, जाने दो, रेड्डी सर सिखाएंगे. सब कुछ मैं बताऊंगा ना, गड़बड़ हो जाएगी. फिर उनकी क्लास में क्या होगा, यही खैर मुझे शायद नहीं करना चाहिए था. हर टीचर का अपना तरीका होता है सिखाने का. तो अगर 2 टीचर्स मिक्स करेंगे ना, तो होता क्या, फिर लगता है वो गलत थे, ये गलत थे, हो क्या रहा है, ज्वालामुखी. ठीक है, तो इसीलिए let Reddy sir talk to you about it. We'll teach you that. Okay, you take this up, then you write in the same point, government has introduced GST. Government has introduced GST, which has simplified which has simplified the indirect tax structure and encouraged investment. All right. Then you write the next point. Again on GST, Reddy sir will teach you and you will get the clarity there. I'm not necessarily going that side. You write the next thing there. Next point, that is fourth point. Government has increased import duty on several commodities to encourage their production in India. For example, LED screen, renewable energy equipments, like solar panels for that matter. So renewable energy equipments, electronic goods, etc. That again is something we have done, but that is double-edged. ये दोनों तरफ से affect करेगा. It is good because it can improve production of these industries or these commodities, but many of these commodities are also used as input in other industries, and that harms the production of output part. For example, if we make LED screens costlier, then temporarily at least our television, our mobile phones, our laptops, and so on will become costlier. You understand that? So increase in import duty will always have that double edge, that if the import duty is increased, it benefits one side, it harms another. All right. That is why I am a big supporter that rather than increasing import duty, let the currency depreciate on its own. Don't intervene much. Keep it stable. It's not that it should be drastically depreciated, but let it depreciate. In that case, you are still giving protection to your country, but in turn you are still giving many benefits to your exporters because that currency is becoming lesser in value. So that can be allowed if we actually want to give protection to our firms in India, and that protection is wholesome. Everybody gets it, rather than only giving it to particular firms by raising their interest rate. तो अगर मान लीजिए मैं एक टेलीविजन मैन्युफैक्चरर हूँ, मेरे इनपुट का कॉस्ट बढ़ गया, लेकिन फिर मेरे आउटपुट को भी प्रोटेक्शन मिल गया, तो मुझे लगेगा चलो ठीक है, if I'm losing at one place, I'm gaining at another. But when I increase import duty on LED screen, but I don't increase import duty on television screens, that's a challenge that I create. You understand that? So this is something we can improve upon again. Next, you write, fifth point. Government has taken several steps to promote MSME which contributes to manufacturing development Now, I'm not making you write anything here. I will be discussing this with you separately because I talk around 1 hour on MSME to you later on. All right, after I have taught you all the things, in the last class when we will have it together, I will teach you MSME separately because I believe it's a separate and important topic in itself. So I don't teach it with industry. I keep a separate space for it. I will be teaching you, all right? But I'll tell you what government has done quickly. For example, government has given them easy loans. For example, government gives them testing facilities, laboratory facilities. Government gives them grading facilities. Government gives them marketing facilities. All right, so there are several ways in which government is helping MSME. But I repeat, I will definitely take you into the detailed understanding as I discuss MSME with you. You write the next point, sixth point, that is, government has announced creation of Mitra scheme, MITRA, for development of textile industry under this scheme. Firms will be given monetary incentive of up to rupees 500 crore to develop large scale textile parks. मित्रा का फुल फॉर्म ही वही है, मेगा इंडस्ट्रियल टेक्सटाइल रीजन एंड अपैरल इंडस्ट्री पार्क. ऑलराइट, बट आई एम अगेन नॉट टेकिंग इनटू डिटेल्स ऑफ मित्रा. ये सारे इवेंट्स ऐसे हैं जो अभी भी इंडिया में चल रहे हैं. Every day you get a news about them. Every second day you get a news about them. So I will include all this when I'm teaching you the current affairs, Mitra and all. But I'm just introducing it to you right now. All right. Up to rupees on large scale to develop large scale make it industrial textile, large scale industrial textile manufacturing capacity, including export capacity. Then you write next, government has announced the creation of National Investment Manufacturing Zones, NIMZ. National Investment Manufacturing Zones as integrated industrial townships. Now remember, integrated industrial townships are those townships which are developed to look after the civic requirement of an industry. For example, Jamshedpur, or for example, Rourkela, or Salem, or say Bhilai. These are all examples of integrated industrial townships. They are townships developed to look after the civic requirements of industries. कि जो इंडस्ट्री में काम करने लोग आएंगे, उनके बच्चों के लिए स्कूल चाहिए, उनकी फैमिली के रहने की जगह चाहिए. So you create such an industrial system and you create an integrated industrial township. All right. So integrated industrial township to be developed over a minimum area a minimum area of 2,500 hectares with 30% of the region reserved for manufacturing industry. With 30% of the region reserved for manufacturing industry. Full stop. In the same thing you write, it will be developed to create industrial corridors like a Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor or a Mumbai-Ahmedabad industrial corridor or a Chennai-Bengaluru industrial corridor, like that. Understand this. I'll make you write that also. But an industrial corridor works like this. I develop the roads. Say there is a Delhi, there is a Mumbai. I develop the road, I develop other infrastructure, and I set up NIMZ on the sides as townships. All right. So there will be a group of NIMZs set up, maybe 4 NIMZs, 5 NIMZs, and they will have cluster-based manufacturing. There is 5-6 types of industries at one place. Another 5-6 types of industry at another place. And this cluster-based manufacturing will be done in these places. These places will be connected to each other with a good infrastructure. So in case they need support from each other, they will get it. And these places are now connected to the major markets of India, both sides, which will mean they won't have a problem on selling their product, and they won't have a problem with respect to getting inputs and all. All right. And this whole zone will be called an industrial corridor. Corridor means a defined area, and industrial corridor means a defined area with industrial development all through it. All right. So that is why these are the corridors we have planned. 20 NIMZs are planned in India. All right, we will develop 20 NIMZs. I'm taking you into that, but before you write this, industrial corridors with cluster-based manufacturing, Kiran and Vitan, I see your questions. You can send it to me on Telegram. I can answer it over there. Cluster-based manufacturing. Which can result in providing advantage of large-scale production, that is economies of scale. The challenge we see in this NIMZ is a very slow pace of growth. We had announced 20 NIMZ 8 years back. 2015 this scheme was announced. The NIMZ will be developed by developer identifying an area, like government identifying an area, notifying that area to be developed as NIMZ. Then developers will take up that area. They will create a township in that area, and then the firms will buy their land in that area. They will establish manufacturing units, construct factories and all. Then the firms will buy machines, hire workers, and then start producing. So even if today we go at Avengers speed, it will take 4 or 5 years. And at the moment, out of 20 NIMZ, only 3 have been notified. They're not yet operational fully. All right. So this is the challenge that we create. That unless we don't change that, unless we don't change that structure, we won't be very successful across. Okay. Then you write challenges to manufacturing development or industrial development in India. These are the 7 steps I made you write about what has the government done. Now we talk about challenges to manufacturing development or industrial development in India. manufacturing or industrial development in India. And you write first point in that, lack of implementation of labor law reforms. Lack of implementation of labor law reforms. I will be teaching you labor law reforms when I'm teaching you employment, but understand it like this. We badly need our labor law reforms to be implemented. Like government did these reforms 3 years back. 2019 we did the wage code bill reform, and 2020 we did the other 3 reform codes that we passed with respect to the industrial relations code, the public safety and health hazard code, and with respect to the social security code. अब ये 4 codes हमने पास किए, 44 अलग अलग laws थे, उनको 4 code में ले आए. मॉडर्न है ये laws, बेटर अप्लाई हो सकते हैं, बट 3 साल बीत गए, हमने इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं किया. It's been 3 years, we have not implemented it. The interesting thing is, whichever government document you read, economic survey and all, or even their vision documents and all, they will say this government has taken a very strong step of doing labor law reforms in India. But you do labor law reforms when you implement them. You don't do them on paper. You understand that? So this is one challenge that we have in our country. The important thing is to understand modern world structure and frame labor laws according to that. Our labor laws have become outdated and that discourages investment in India. मैं तुम्हें एक आसान example देता हूँ. Say for example, if I wash your clothes, I clean your house and I clean your utensils. मैं मान लीजिए आपके लिए ये काम करता हूँ. Example दे रहा हूँ. कुछ लोग उम्मीद से देख रहे हो, अच्छा किस वक्त निकालते हो? Now, if I come to you tomorrow and I tell you that I am now under Industrial Disputes Act, and therefore you will have to give me all weekends as off. You will have to make sure that you contribute to my provident fund 12% of my basic salary. All national holidays will be my off. Other than that, I can take sick leave and casual leave, which have to be paid leaves. And other than that, I can take unpaid leaves. Apart from that, if you want to remove me, you will have to give me 3 months notice. If you don't give me 3 months notice, you will have to give me 3 months salary. If you want to replace me, you will have to talk to my trade union. Unless the trade union doesn't permit, you can't replace me. Next day, you will go buy a dishwasher and a washing machine. You know, this is labor replaced by capital because of very stringent labor rules. India suffers from that. Then people say, yes, but what's the objection? It protects workers. It doesn't. Because majority of our workers are in the unorganized sector, और यही आप मेरे साथ करोगे. जब मैं कहूँगा मैं इंडस्ट्रियल डिस्प्यूट्स एक्ट में हूँ, आप कहोगे मैं तुम्हें नौकरी से हटा रहा हूँ अभी के अभी, तब मैं आपके पैर पकड़ लूँगा. बोलो मुझे नौकरी से मत हटाओ, मेरा खाना पीना चल रहा है आपके यहाँ नौकरी से, आप देखो क्या कर सकते हो. आप बोलोगे मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकता, वैसे ही काम करते रहो जैसे करोगे. अब तुम एक ऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर वर्कर नहीं हो, तुम अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर वर्कर हो. सो यू आर नॉट रिकॉग्नाइज्ड फुली एज अ वर्कर. यू विल नॉट गेट एनी एम्प्लॉयमेंट, you will not get any provident fund, pension fund, insurance, etc. You work for me. And that is what happens in India very often. You know, so the unorganized sector workers don't get protected anyways. But it is not so good for the organized sector workers also. Imagine Kingfisher employees or Jet Airways employees, these guys don't even know whether they are employed or not. The company has shut down, it's not working, they don't get their salary, they did not get their own contribution to their own provident fund, you know, and these are all workers in the organized sector. They were working for a proper company registered with Government of India. So if the organized sector workers are not protected and the unorganized sector workers are not protected, then we got to make sure our labor laws improve. Because it suggests that the labor law is not good at the moment. You know, it is protecting a very cozy club of employees at the moment. कुछ लोग जो सरकारी नौकरी में है या कुछ लोग जो हायर पोस्ट पे हैं प्राइवेट नौकरी में, उनका प्रोटेक्शन है इस लॉ से, बट बाकी लोग प्रोटेक्टेड नहीं है. इसीलिए इनको बदलना जरूरी है. साथ में ये आउटडेटेड है. अगेन रिपीट, इंडस्ट्रियल डिस्प्यूट्स एक्ट इज 1948, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लेबर एक्ट इज 1954, you know, apprenticeship act is 1961. So these are some outdated law. Even the Migrant Labor Act is 1979. So we have some outdated laws in India. We need to work upon that. We should make sure that that improves. Now that's what the central government tried by bringing these 4 labor codes, and they have sent it to the state governments. But unfortunately, many of the state governments have not yet notified all the 4 labor codes. So the implementation is missing. And that is what you need to take care. That implementation is the key here. That is what discourages firms from investing. Second point then, you write, lack of land acquisition reforms, lack of land acquisition reforms reflected in poor land records, comma, poor land records means less knowledge about whose land is which. ऑलराइट, अर्बन एरियाज में तो फिर भी कुछ क्लैरिटी है कि कौन सी जमीन किसकी है, कुछ ही क्लैरिटी है, इट्स लेस लिटिल क्लैरिटी हुज लैंड इज विच. रूरल एरियाज इट्स ऑल मेस्ड अप इन इंडिया. आप काफी लोग ये सुनते होंगे कि एक भाई ने दूसरे भाई की जमीन बेच दी, फिर दूसरे भाई आके केस कर रहे हैं. ये इसलिए होता है क्योंकि लैंड रिकॉर्ड फर्स्ट अप है. तो सिंस लैंड रिकॉर्ड्स नहीं क्लियर हैं तो पता नहीं चल पाता दैट हुज लैंड इज विच, एंड मेनी पीपल देन ट्राई टेकिंग रॉन्ग एडवांटेज ऑफ दैट. नाउ एज एन एंटरप्रेन्योर, एज अ मैन्युफैक्चरर, you cannot take the risk that you buy the land and then you have built your factory half of it, and then somebody comes and claims no, it was not the land of the person you bought from, it is my land, and the person files a case against you, the court gives a stay order, and you are gone after that. So nobody takes that risk then. All right, so lack of land, poor land records, comma, very rigid land acquisition law, very rigid land acquisition law. That's another challenge. The law that we have created in India to acquire land, even though we amended the 1894 Act, which was on land acquisition in India, and we changed it in 2013, and we again amended it in 2014, all this was done to make it easier to get land in India, but still the problem is that it's not that easily available because there are too many restrictive clauses. For example, one of the clauses says that if you want to buy a patch of land which belongs to a larger number of people, then as long as 75% among them don't agree, you cannot buy that land. And it's 75% people, not 75% of land holding. So imagine now, if this is a piece of land, and suppose one person holds this 10 acre, and there is another 5 acre held by 10 more people. You need this 15 acre land to set up your factory. This one person agrees, and 2 people here also agree, but the rest 7 are not agreeing. You understand that? Now आप उनको मनाइए पहले कि तुम मान जाओ भाई किसी तरह, और नहीं मान रहे, आपका डील लटका हुआ है. Another challenge can be people going back on the deal. मान भी गए, साइन कर दिया, आप लैंड आपके नाम हो गया, उसके बाद कोई जाकर कोर्ट में इंजंक्शन ऑर्डर फाइल कर देगा दैट मेरे मर्जी के खिलाफ मुझसे साइन करा लिया गया था. And why does the fellow do this? Because somebody else comes walking to this person and says, oh, you sold your land for X amount. I could have given you X plus 5K. And the person thinks, oh, I am being cheated. अब मुझे जाके कोर्ट में इंजंक्शन फाइल कर देना है. So these are challenges of doing business in India. Then you put a comma again. Lack of clearance on land use policy, lack of clearance on land use policy. I'll tell you what is land use policy, whether this land is agricultural land or industrial land or residential land, that is land use policy. Now, government sometimes keeps changing that land use policy, and then I may buy a land thinking it to be industrial land, and the government say changes it to a residential land, I'm gone. You understand that? So these are changes and challenges that keep coming. So we need to be consistent in our land use policy, and especially with respect to the new development programs, we can demarcate which land can be used for what purposes. All right. Then in the same thing, you write land use policy and corruption in property registration office. Property registration office. You know, the interesting thing is that people there don't even take it as corruption. They take it as fee that they take. You know, आप वो कहते हैं ये तो फीस है हमारी. आप अगर जाएंगे उनको बोलेंगे मैं अपना घर रजिस्टर करने आया हूँ, आपका घर रजिस्टर हो जाएगा, साथ में कैश अमाउंट भी लगेगा. और वो कैश अमाउंट एक्चुअली जितने भी लोग वहाँ हैं उनके देने के लिए होता है. अगर आप वो कैश अमाउंट नहीं देंगे तो आपका घर ही रजिस्टर नहीं करेंगे. वो कुछ ना कुछ कमी निकालेंगे आपके पेपर में, एंड दे विल मेक श्योर योर हाउस इज नॉट रजिस्टर्ड. रजिस्ट्रेशन, हाउस, फैक्ट्री, एनीथिंग फॉर दैट मैटर. अगेन दिस इज समथिंग दैट डिटर्स पीपल फ्रॉम डूइंग बिजनेस बिकॉज दिस इज एक्स्ट्रा कॉस्ट for the people. So this is again, these are issues of land acquisition in India. So acquiring land is difficult, getting labor is difficult. These are two challenges to begin with. Third then, you write, lack of infrastructure development. Lack of infrastructure development which is reflected in high logistical cost. Now, even today, our logistical cost is high. See, electrification missing means cold storage chains can't be developed. Cold storage chain, we all understand, refrigerated storehouses, जहाँ आप store कर सकते हैं refrigeration के साथ. So, if electrification is missing, cold storage chains go missing. Road transport, now national highways, we have done a great job in the last 7-8 years. We have made a wonderful array of national highways. But as soon as you go away from national highway and you move towards the local roads, the whole situation changes. You know, and आप हेलीकॉप्टर ड्रॉप नहीं कर सकते ना कि नेशनल हाईवे तक लेकर आए सामान और फिर वहां से उठा उठा के सीधा फैक्ट्री में फेंक रहे हैं. लेके तो जाना पड़ेगा उस रास्ते से ही, और वो रास्ता बचा हुआ खराब है. तो ये एक और चैलेंज है हमारे यहाँ से रोड ट्रांसपोर्ट का. सो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी मिसिंग, रोड मिसिंग, रेलवेज नॉट डिलीवरिंग ऑन टाइम. You know, that's another problem कि आपने रेलवे पे अपना सामान रख दिया, फिर आप प्रेयर्स कर सकते हैं कि पहुंच जाए बस टाइम से. You know, so railway is not delivering on time. Storehouse is not well developed. These are challenges of doing again manufacturing business in India, because manufacturing will need good transportation, good storage, good electrification, support of all this. You know, that is a missing link again, and that increases my logistical cost. I am not even adding the corruption where your truck can be stopped at any point by people and they will ask for bribes. You know, कि अब थोड़ा कुछ मेरा हिस्सा भी होना चाहिए इसमें. You know, that kind of a thing. So this is the challenge again, I repeat, that of transportation and logistics in India. Next, you write, lack of ease of doing business. Lack of ease of doing business, which is reflected in lack of ease of starting a business, lack of ease of starting a business. Now, you know, we need 19 permissions in India to start a business. Now 19 and we all know how permissions are given. Now 19 permissions mean too many delays and setting up a startup, especially for manufacturing. आप सोच के देखिए, आप जब पढ़ते हैं unicorn, you must have heard this name. Unicorn are companies which are valued more than 1 billion and all. So when you look at unicorn, when you look at companies making big waves, when you look at the entrepreneurs, the startups, how many times do you see a manufacturing startup in that? You will often see services sector startup, the tech companies. Because setting up a tech company doesn't need infrastructure support like road or railway. It doesn't need storage support. It doesn't need electricity beyond a point. It doesn't need labor beyond a point. तो लेबर लॉ रिफॉर्म उनको अफेक्ट नहीं करते, लैंड एक्विजिशन उनको अफेक्ट नहीं करता, इन ट्रांसपोर्टेशन वगैरह उनको अफेक्ट नहीं करते, और 20 परमिशन नहीं चाहिए क्योंकि आप एक सेटअप कर सकते हैं स्मॉल बिजनेस विथ लेसर नंबर ऑफ परमिशंस नीडेड. फायर सेफ्टी क्लियरेंस एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा, यू डोंट नीड एनी ऑफ दैट. क्यों? क्योंकि अगर आप एक स्टार्टअप चला रहे हैं, से एक कंप्यूटर बिजनेस कर रहे हैं, एक फाइनेंशियल कंसल्टेंसी कर रहे हैं, एक सर्विसेज की बात कर रहा हूं, एक कोचिंग सेंटर चला रहे हैं, स्टार्टअप कैन ऑपरेट फ्रॉम 2 rooms, 3 rooms, employing 10 people, 12 people in an informal atmosphere. And then gradually it can grow big, and as it grows big, then you arrange all your things for yourself. But a manufacturing cannot start from 3 rooms and with 5 people. Manufacturing will need a minimum scale to begin with. And that minimum scale point is the missing link in India. That these are the challenges to that. In the same thing, you please continue. So lack of ease of starting a business, lack of single window clearance, lack of single window clearance. So single window clearance is all permissions at one place. Single window clearance doesn't mean only one permission. Single window clearance means all permissions at one place. आपको जितने permissions देने हैं दो, but एक जगह बनाओ जहां वो permission मिल जाए. साथ में time bound clearance होना चाहिए. After 3 months, after 4 months, after 2 months, 1 month ideally, let me know whether you are accepting my file or rejecting my file. And if you are rejecting my file, what are the reasons you are rejecting it? You understand that? As an entrepreneur, I will have the clarity as to what purview I am working in. All right. But this is again a missing thing in India. We have a habit of sitting on the files. We don't let the files move easily. Again, if somebody greases the palm, then the files move. तो ये काफी डिफिकल्टीज हैं सिस्टम की. इनको जब तक ठीक नहीं करेंगे, इन्वेस्टमेंट्स डोंट गेट प्रमोटेड. ऑल राइट. सो दिस इज अगेन नेक्स्ट थिंग, एंड इन द सेम थिंग यू राइट, एंड lack of ease of exiting the business. आप अपने बिजनेस को जल्दी बंद भी नहीं कर सकते, उसके लिए भी परमिशंस चाहिए. लाइक इंसॉल्वेंसी एंड बैंक्रप्सी एक्ट इज देयर इन इंडिया नाउ, एंड इट इज गिविंग कंपैरेटिवली मोर फ्रीडम, नो डाउट. आई विल टीच यू दैट व्हेन आई एम टीचिंग यू मनी एंड बैंकिंग. सो आई विल गेट टू इंसॉल्वेंसी एंड बैंक्रप्सी एक्ट. बट गुड थिंग इज दैट अर्लियर इट यूज्ड टू टेक 8 years to 10 years to close an institution in India, but now with insolvency and bankruptcy act it's taking less than 2 years. But ideally it should not take you more than 4-5 months. Maybe 6 months, maximum 9-10 months, but we still take 2 years. अब सोचिए आपका नुकसान हो गया, आप अपनी कंपनी बंद करना चाहते हैं, and you are saying that okay, let me close down my company, I will recover whatever capital I can recover out of it and think about doing a new business. And the system is saying no, hang on, we will first check everything, and in the process of checking everything they are taking 2 years. That is not something that you validly would like to happen. All right, so even honest entrepreneurs get deterred from entering. The dishonest ones have a field day. They love the delay because they know that the more you delay, more I am better off. In any case, I have siphoned out everything from the company. Now what can you do? So this is where again we go wrong, that our exit laws are weak. So entry laws are weak, exit laws are weak, and single window clearance missing. So the ease of doing business becomes weak. Next, then you write, problem due to inverted duty structure. Problem due to inverted duty structure. Put a dash and write. It means it means very high import duty, very high import duty on raw material, and very low import duty on finished goods. Very low import duty on finished goods. Now think, if the raw material has high import duty and if finished goods have low import duty, it is encouraging me to directly import the finished good rather than importing the raw material and producing the commodity in my country. तो जब भी ऐसा सिचुएशन होता है, we call it inverted duty structure. All right, which discourages manufacturing automatically because it's convenient for people to import the raw material, the finished good, rather than importing raw material and manufacturing it in India. All right, mobile phone development in India has that huge problem. Micromax, Lava, they were doing pretty okay in the beginning, but then we had this inverted duty structure and the Chinese started dominating the market, a Xiaomi or an Oppo or a Vivo, and they start dominating the market, and Micromax and Lava became component suppliers to them gradually, and you hardly see a Micromax phone or a Lava phone now because they are supplying components to these Chinese manufacturers in India. You understand that? This is what kills our industry then. So we should be careful that we don't do inverted duty structure, reduce the import duty on inputs, and improve the participation in global supply chain, and make sure that more and more production happens within the country. All right, that is the aspect again. Next then, you write, lack of intellectual property right, lack of intellectual property right protection, lack of intellectual property right protection leads to discouragement of high value output production in India. Discouragement of high value output production in India. That's another challenge in our country. You produce something today and they will copy it tomorrow. So obviously you don't have any incentive to invest your intellectual capital in producing something today. So high value products like say luxury cars or even say the iPhones and all, they don't entirely produce it in our country. Remember, what is the major thing in these things? Say high value cars or iPhones. इनका 40% वैल्यू एडिशन होता है. अगर 100 रुपए की चीज है तो 40 रुपया डिजाइनिंग है इनका. मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इज अ वेरी स्मॉल अमाउंट नाउ. Designing is 40%, 45% of the total value added. And designing is something that is done in the developed countries or in places like China, where Chinese also are less on designing at the moment, but they have started. But developed countries are doing a lot of designing. But that is where India can start pushing its weight. That let the designing happen in India. जैसे ये production linked incentive scheme है ना, designing linked incentive scheme भी लेकर आ रहे हैं सरकार, DLI. But designing will be promoted only when people are secured that whatever I design in this country will not be available for being copied tomorrow morning. So this is something we need to work upon. That intellectual property has to be protected. The patent rights have to be protected so that people do things in India. So designing, again I repeat, is a very important aspect which is a missing link in India at the moment, which I think we can aspire to achieve. All right. Then you, in fact, एक बात ध्यान रखना है इसमें, that we have largest number of universities in the world after the United States of America. USA के बाद जो second largest number of universities हैं वो हमारे यहाँ हैं, और USA के बाद जो second largest number of colleges हैं वो भी हमारे यहाँ हैं. We have more than 50,000 colleges, more than 1,000 universities in India, including the deemed universities and so on. But more than that, we have to make these universities the real place of thinking. That is the idea. Put real academics in these places. आपको कुछ traits बताता हूँ. Real academics are hardly bothered about the symbolics of the surrounding. Unfortunately हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी में ये होते थोड़ा कम देख रहा हूँ अब मैं. लोग ज़्यादा bothered हैं as professors or as assistant professors about the respect shown to them. But academics is a non-hierarchical system, completely, and it should remain non-hierarchical. तभी तो free thinking होगी ना. तुम जैसे ही मुझे सर बुलाए, free thinking खत्म हो गई. अब तो सर बताएंगे क्या करना है. ये हायरार्की है, आर्मी में चलेगा, ब्यूरोक्रेसी में चलेगा, एकेडमिक्स में नहीं. एकेडमिक्स में I can be a Dr. Jha to you, and you can call me Dr. Jha. It's completely cool. No, there's no problem with that. It doesn't show any disrespect. What it shows is a free thinking system. लोग ये देखते हैं कुर्सी कहाँ लगी मेरी, कौन सा स्टूडेंट मेरे आने पर विश किया मुझे. अरे नहीं किया, नहीं मन उसका, तुम्हें बहुत मन कर रहा है, तुम ही जाके बोल दो गुड मॉर्निंग. इसमें क्या प्रॉब्लम है. आप कभी मुझे देखेंगे मैं सीढ़ियों पे आपसे मिलता हूँ, मैं पहले आपको ऐसे आंख से करता रहता हूँ, कभी आपको ऐसे ठोक देता हूँ. अब मुझे मजा आता है आपके साथ. 1 मिनट के लिए आप बिजी भी हो तो मुझे लगता है कोई बात नहीं, आधा मिनट मेरे लिए निकाल लो, हेलो बोल के जाओ मुझे. मैंने आपको बताया था कि मैंने तो अपने बेटे को भी नहीं छोड़ा था when he was moving with his friend. तो मैं नहीं छोड़ता हूँ. I enjoy my youngsters, so I get along. I say hello, how are you, good morning, good afternoon, anything. उसमें ईगो क्यों रखूं. चुपचाप से घूम रहा हूँ, गुड मॉर्निंग कह नहीं रहा मुझे. फिर 2 बार उसके गलत बगल से घूम के लौटा, 2 बार घूम लिया, फिर भी गुड मॉर्निंग नहीं कह रहा मुझे. No, an academic brain doesn't think like that. An academic brain doesn't get insecure by a good question. An academic brain appreciates a good question. अगर कुछ आउट ऑफ सिंक भी बोल रहे हो तो एक एकेडमिक ब्रेन सोचता है उसके बारे में, अच्छा ये भी सोच हो सकती है, सोच के देखें किस डायरेक्शन में जा रहे हैं. So this academic brain development in India is limited because we have created even educational institutions as hierarchical institutions. Hierarchies don't research. Research is done by a completely independent brain, free, which is willing to say. I remember very well, I went to my PhD coach the first day. ये जो सर वाली बात आपको मैंने बताई, उन्होंने मुझे ट्रेन किया था. हमें तो इंडिया में सर बोलने की आदत थी. तो मैं उनके पास गया, मैंने कहा सर may I come in? He looked up, and it was our first meeting. He looks up and says, have I been knighted? And that was what took me by surprise. I said, I couldn't get you, sir. He said, look, you say sir to people who have been knighted by the Queen of England. In those days, the Queen was there, of course, so by the Queen of England. I have not been knighted, so it will be good if you call me Turnoversky. At best, if you want to give me respect for my old age, add a mister to that. And I got my first lesson in academics then. That, and I was something like 40 years junior to him. मैं 21 का था और सर मेरे ख्याल से 57-58 years के थे उस वक्त. मैं उनको बार बार सर ही बोल देता था. आज भी प्रेफर कर देता हूँ, सर बोल देता हूँ. But sir has taught me those things. He's still 83 and he would. हमारा एक WhatsApp ग्रुप है, हम जितने लोगों ने उनके साथ PhD किया है, तो हम कुछ 15-20 लोग हैं जिन्होंने उनके अंदर PhD किया. तो हमने एक व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप सर के साथ बनाया है. तो उनमें से कुछ लोग अभी भी पढ़ा रहे हैं यूनिवर्सिटी में ही, सर के साथ ही हैं, पढ़ा रहे हैं वहाँ. तो वो मैसेज करते हैं दैट समबडी एक्सप्लेन टू सर दैट सर इज एजिंग नाउ. व्हाट ही डज इज ही राइड हिज हार्ले डेविडसन एंड ही चैलेंजेस द अंडरग्रेजुएट्स फॉर अ रेस. सो ही इज अ पर्सन लाइक दैट, 81-82 year old person. और जो अंडरग्रेजुएट्स उनको बोलते हैं कम लेट्स हैव अ रेस ऑन दिस. बट दैट इज हिज जोवियल self and he is a brilliant brain. जब वो रिसर्च करने लगते हैं, जब वो बात करते हैं इकोनॉमिक्स की, तो पता चलता है कि कितने ज्यादा जानते हैं इस बारे में वो. तो ये वो एक्सप्लेन करते हैं that that's because you wants to keep everybody free around him so that everybody can express what they would like to express. Nobody should be scared expressing. But that is academics. In India, unfortunately, that culture is missing a lot. 24/7 availability between teachers and students. तुम्हें कोई नया आइडिया आया तो मुझे पहुंच सको, मुझे नया मतलब ये तो खैर हम कोचिंग में पढ़ रहे हैं, मैं यूनिवर्सिटी की बात कर रहा हूँ. मुझे कोई आइडिया आया मैं तुम्हें बात कर सकूँ, हम डिस्कस करें शाम को भी बैठ के, कैसे ये थ्योरी ऐसे क्यों नहीं हो सकती. दैट इज academics if you ask me. And if we do that, then India does innovate much better. So innovation is the key here, and make in India, make for India, and I'm adding a third thing to it now, think in India. if we think in India, we will not have to pay royalty charges on designing to outsiders. And India has the capacity to think. मैं कुछ 43 कंट्रीज घूम लिया हूं अपने लाइफ में, और बहुत कम कंट्रीज देखे इंडिया जैसे, जहां पेरेंट्स अपने बच्चे को पढ़ाने के लिए भूखे रहने को तैयार है. They are very rare things to find. India is one of those rare places where parents are happy living without food if the child is getting educated. So education is already there in India. We just need to make that education fruitful. Let the brains be thinking brains rather than learning alone. Then you write next point. Lack of proper rules regarding law and order, environmental clearance, government procurement, etc., which results in discouraging large-scale manufacturing. I'll tell you what I imply by this last line. First of all, law and order. Think, ideally, where should the firms establish themselves? Not in Delhi, not in Chennai, not in Mumbai, not in Hyderabad or Bengaluru for manufacturing. Manufacturing needs a large space. Manufacturing needs open areas, better connectivity and all. These places are congested. In any case, they don't allow big manufacturing units. But still you will see the units located closer to these spaces rather than going farther away from here. One big factor is law and order. You set up a big factory worth say 50 crore rupees. I come to you, I congratulate you, what a wonderful factory you have made. Now please send 1 lakh rupees per month to my office every month. You say, why should I send you that? I will protect you. From whom? Myself. That is what you call extortion tax. अलग अलग जगह अलग अलग नाम बोला जाता है इसको. जैसे बिहार यूपी में इसको रंगदारी टैक्स बोलते हैं. ठीक है? They will scare you. The gundas will have their own connects with the people in administration, and you got to pay money to them to do business. Obviously, people won't do business in such an atmosphere. Nearer to the capital, nearer to the metropolitan, you still feel safe. That okay, maybe I can do business more safely. People go that side. In spite of high land cost, in spite of high labor charges, and so on. So this is one thing deterring expansion of industries in India. The second thing is lack of clarity on environmental rules in India. We should have environmental protection rules in India. The problem in our country right now is that the clarity is missing as to what are the conditions you have to fulfill to get those clearances. So many times the file waits for months and you are not getting the clearance. But if you are well connected in the government, then even if you are violating the norms, the clearances are given. So this is again a challenge that we have. And the third challenge that I made you write is government procurement policy. How will the government purchase? Now if the government will purchase, take an example. We say that Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited is a Maharatna, which it is. But think, 90% of electricity, heavy electricity purchase in India is done by government. And government says that we will not purchase from anybody else except the public sector. And the public sector is Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited. So even if I am a private company, I have no incentive to set up my unit in India because I know that the biggest purchaser and a dominant purchaser will definitely not purchase from me. You understand that? Also, we don't know that whether Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited is a Maharatna because it is actually a very efficient firm, or is it a Maharatna because indirectly it is getting protected by the government? You understand that? So these are challenges that get created because of our, again, outdated methods. So these are the challenges due to which industrialization has not developed in India. I'll stay on that. In any case, the time is done and my throat is practically revolting. So I'll stay on that today. When I meet you next, I will begin with, आप एक heading दे दो so that I remember and you remember. Just give a heading. Structural reforms required. Structural reforms required to improve manufacturing in India. Structural reforms required to improve manufacturing in India. We will talk about these structural reforms as I see you next and go from thereafter. Thank you. Have a great day.